Welcome to the Fluff, you sexy bitches. And so I have a question for y'all. I have been uploading the SCPs individually. Every number has been uploaded individually. I think right now I finished uploading the last from the 460s, the Many-Winged Angel. I uploaded that yesterday, but I realized it has been quite some time since I recorded them, and I still have the 490s to go through, which you will see this after that's done. And I want to ask you guys, do you prefer if I upload every SCP individually? And that way they all get the individual thumbnails, they all get like the individual time, and of course I hope that I recorded the 490s better, that it just has more chances to do some crazy editing, also just some fun editing into it. Or would you rather prefer I upload this in bulk? Basically, because I read every 10 SCPs after each other, would you prefer if I upload it all in a bulk? And I'm not sure how to do it just yet. I need to research it actually. I know there's a way to like make like in the actual video loading bar to show you which one is what. And you can just then click on individual ones that you prefer knowing more about. And that way you get the SCPs much faster, and you don't have to wait half a year for this one to come out. So, or like, you know, the last one from this one, which will be 509. Just give me a heads up down below. For now, I'm going to upload, actually, you know, I'm going to upload this one in bulk right now. And you can give me feedback at the end of this video, being like, yeah, no, we prefer like this, or no, we prefer like that. But now, let's get started. My blue light glasses on, and I have my G Fuel right here. This way I will be sure to, I need to get the actual picture. I need to be sure that I will be up with the energy, and I will give you guys a good time. So I haven't actually read past the last ones I recorded, which were the 490s. So we are now freshly stepping into the 500s. And this one will be the first, there's no, what do you call that? I guess the first 10, right? It's not the teens, because never mind. Let's go on though. Panacea? How do you let's actually put my OBS on the other monitor right here so I can check that everything's going A-okay. And this is a strong start, a 916 rating, but it is considered safe. Panacea? Pancakes? I don't know. SCP-500 or 500 must be stored in a cool and dry place away from bright light. SCP-500 is only allowed to be accessed by personnel with level 4 security clearance to prevent misapplication. That is a thing that happens in the SCP Foundation, doesn't it? Like, some people just decide, like, well, I can just use this for my own personal gains. And I'm just like, have you not looked around you? Have you not looked at all the things that can cause major damage to people? Why would you ever? I mean, some you can actually use for good. You can actually use some stuff for good. But in general, I would never. If I were in the SCP Foundation and I see something that would benefit me, I'd be like, no, nah. There's 6,000 things here that can kill me just if I use it wrong. Why would I want to risk doing this with this one? Okay, but here we go. Description: SCP-500 is a smell. Yeah, it's a small plastic can which, at the time of writing, contains 47 red. You choose the red pill or the blue pill. Speaking of which, I'm gonna take a sip just to. Ice cold, nice. Ice cold G Fuel. One pill, when taken orally, effectively cures the subject of all diseases within 2 hours, exact time depending on the severity and the amount. Let me just increase this a little bit on my OBS, sorry. Cures and subject exact time depending on the severity and amount of the subject's conditions. Despite extensive trials, all attempts at synthesizing more of what is thought to be active ingredient of the pills have been unsuccessful. Note from Dr. Klein. SCP personnel below level 3 are now banned from handling SCP-500. This is not to be used to cure a hangover, get AIDS, and then ask permission. That is so cruel. Like, I don't understand. Like, don't just. There's only 47 of them, and don't just use it for a hangover. They need to use it for tests, right? But to say to your own crew, like, hey, if you want to use it, then get AIDS first, okay? Okay, here we go. Here are some SCPs that. Oh god, I have to actually go back for some of those just to like remember what they were. Request 500-1774-K. Dr. 50-0022F has requested 1 SCP-500 pill for testing with SCP-038, which, let's see what that one was again. Man. 038 was the everything tree. I think I recall that a little bit. Do I have it saved here? I actually have used a website that just gives you like a paragraph re-explanation of, there we go, of SCPs that if you don't remember them, you can actually look here. It's a tree that can clone anything that touches its bark. The maximum weight that clone atom can weigh is 200 pounds. The atoms cloned by SCP grow and mature in minutes. As we can clone SCP-5. Aha! But I'm pretty sure that would actually have been said here, right? Request has been approved. Okay, and I think that actually, if you go here, it doesn't actually say anything about SCP-500, but this one explains that it can. But they only work 30% of the time. We also try to clone. Does it say that anywhere down here by any chance? Sorry, that's the wrong one. Not really. Well, it has been approved though. Oh no, it does say an addendum. Never mind. Okay, let's go on. Request 500-1862-B. The Dr. Gears has requested 1 SCP-500 pill for testing in SCP-914. Request has been approved. We don't know what that one is, but we do know that one. So, that one has been actually denied. Okay, sorry if I don't read the sentence out, but it's similar. It's the same sentence except 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, F. And then blank, Dr. Blank, and request denied. 253 is the cancer yeah. Interesting that it has been denied for that one. And then we have Dr. Gibbons has 5667E has requested 2. Oh, not 1, 2 pills of SCP-500 for his personal medkit. Request denied. Yeah, man, you can't just keep that for yourself. Oh, here we have some addendums though. 2 pills have been authorized for use with SCP-008, which I believe is the zombie plague. Yep, that's one of the very first ones. As a result of conducting a series of tests on Class D subjects infected with SCP-008, it appears that even in the most advanced stages of the disease, 1 whole pill will accomplish full recovery. Number of pills is 57 at the time of writing. Okay, that's pretty good. Let me just do this because I lean back like that, so not to make me go out of frame. That is good. Okay. So you have, but here's the problem. Of course, you need to have. If the zombie plague has spread amongst a lot of people, then the amount of pills might not be enough, but you can use the clone tree. But the problem is, even if the clone tree clones the pills, it only works 30% of the time, which is not a lot. Out of the 10 pills, 3 of them will work. Which, to be fair, I don't think there's anything wrong with ODing on these pills, unless there is something wrong about that. But if you just create a batch of 10 pills and just shove all of them in one of those patients' mouth, at the end, like, it cures you. It doesn't say like if you OD on it, you just die. Like, you know, like you can just have a monster pill ready, filled with those things. Okay, here we go. Addendum 5, Addendum 2. One pill has been authorized to use with SCP-409. Sorry if I have to like backtrack a lot of times. Like, it's very hard to memorize it. After reading like 500 of these fuckers, it's so hard to memorize which one is which again. The contagious crystal. Yes. Okay, of course. SCP-500 was tested on subject 409D5, who was exposed to the effects of SCP-409. Complete recovery accomplished. See Addendum 409 1. Number of pills is 56 at the time of writing. Okay, man, this is great. This I can see why. I mean, again, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't use any SCP for my personal gain, but I can see why people do want to. If it heals all this stuff, damn. Can you imagine like mass producing this and giving to, like, if the SCP Foundation was involved with the modern society and society in general, can you imagine mass producing these and then giving them to hospitals? People would not die of disease anymore. I mean, of course, again, only 30% of those would work. But as a doctor, you can just keep a patient and then prescribe them pills one a day after a day. And then eventually one of these pills will work. And then you'll be like, your child is fully cured from cancer. Here you go. You know what I mean? Like if that was allowed in the SCP Foundation world, I can totally see that this would be something for great cause. But also the problem is, of course, that I'm not sure how it would be used in evil ways, but I'm pretty sure it can. Especially with how governments work. Some governments can just be like, yeah, we just go pay a shit ton of money that you don't give it to anybody who doesn't earn a certain amount of money. You know, like just healthcare is already such an issue in our world. Like not in Switzerland though, but like in general, like overall, like healthcare is different in every country, or some are similar enough that it still works. But I'm speaking like in American healthcare, for example. This shit would be like privatized. It was just the rich people would just keep it to themselves. Be like, no, we need this, and doctors would probably protest, but they can't do shit. Like some of them, not all of them. Addendum 4. Request 500-1774-K approved. 5 pills have been used to experiment in experimentation with SCP-038. It has been determined that SCP-038 is capable of duplicating SCP-500. However, the success of the duplicated pills is limited. The duplicated pills are only effective in curing the subjects 30% of the time, with chance of successful healing dropping as time since clone increased. In 60% of the cases where the infection is permanent, symptoms of infection remain, though further infestation is neutralized. That's a shame. Okay, I take back everything. Repeated dosing with SCP-038 clone pills is recommended for all personnel suffering from incurable condition, as supply of SCP-500 remains extremely limited. All 5 used samples of SCP-500 were returned. Number of pills is 56 at the time of writing. That is a shame that it doesn't work the same amount. I mean, it makes sense why, but still a shame in my opinion. Addendum 5. During experiments with SCP-038, 1 pill was stolen by personnel D blank to reportedly cure a hangover. Stricter controls for samples of SCP-500 given to other projects is suggested. Personal D blank has been terminated. Number of pills is 55 at the time of writing. Of course he got terminated. He fucking used a pill. This is medical gold, basically. And he's just like, I'm just going to use it to cure hang. Just wait. Just drink water and wait a couple hours, my man. And then number 6. One pill has been used with SCP-231-4. Number of pills is 231. That's, which one is that again? Special personnel requirement. I forgot. You know what? I'm going to look it up here. Honestly, it's probably smaller to just look it up here to begin with instead of like going through the whole thing here. Okay, 231 is special. Yeah. 7 girls were rescued from the 6 have died and only have one. Described. Despite the description being heavily redacted, can be implied that every time one of the girls gives birth or dies, an increasing worse event will occur. Yeah. Since it's the last one alive. But here it says -4. And then, so yeah, that must have been before they died, I guess. And then we have on one pill has been used for experiment 447A. That's 447. Fossil C. Well, that's an issue. Oh, wait, hold on. Is this older? I guess. Interesting. Ball of green slime. I remember it. Here it is. But I don't think I remember the experiment. Well, okay, number of pills is 53 at the time of writing. And then the pill has been used with 208. Number of pills is 50. 208. That one was Bess. Yeah, that heals people. He also repels naturally malicious people. Yep. Why would you use it on him? Feels like would be a waste since he heals people already. Request 500-1862-B approved. One pill of SCP-500 is placed within SCP-914 with the setting at fine. Resulting object classified as SCP-427. Number of pills is okay. So they created an SCP with this combination, the Lovecraftian Locket. That's what it was. Okay. 5 pills have been taken for the Olympia project, although only 2 were used. The remaining 3 will be returned shortly. Upon return, number of pills will be 49. 2 pills have been used for experiment 217-blank. Number of pills is 47 at the time of writing. And addendum 12. Request to have SCP-4 or investigate for mental compulsion leading to obsessive fixation denied for triviality. Okay. And there we go. That's SCP-500. Incredible. I wonder how many they had at the very beginning. Like it says here, by the time of writing, in the addendum here, they used 2 pills and they had 57 left. So we know that for a fact they had 59. So, but I still wonder how many they had before. Like, and also how, like, if maybe somebody else ate them beforehand. Not only that, but this is actually a really good one for me to write down for the SCP series. I'm not sure like if I can do it anytime soon. but it will be a fun one to do. It will be like, so the whole idea for the series would be like, it would be like a very short video series, like 5 to 10 minutes each episode, where it's about the origin or like how random people bumped into these SCPs. And this one will be very easy to do because it literally is you can do anything. Like you can start with somebody finding a container full of red pills, and they're like, oh, I got a hangover, and then just pop one in because they're not thinking clearly, or maybe like it's actually being used for medical usage, but then the SCP Foundation finds out like, oh, somebody has like a wonder pill, basically. Of course, that's not going to be the actual thing I'm planning to do with it, but it is definitely one of the easier ones to do. All I gotta do is have, props wise, is a bottle of red pills. There we go. All right, nice. Let's go to the next one. The next one is called Monk's Greed. We have a Euclid. Okay. Special containment procedures. My don't you keep breaking my Alright, SCP-501 is kept in a securely locked, opaque safe in a cell 5 meters cubed inside 3. My nose is itchy now as well, what the hell? The cell is guarded by 2 level 2 security guards who undergo daily psychological evaluation. The interior of the cell must also be monitored at all times by no fewer than 2 security cameras with a separate guard observing the monitor for each camera. These cameras must be connected to a backup generator so they will continue functioning in the event of a blackout. All requests for experiments must be cleared by at least 3 overseers, excuse me more. Any personnel attempting to gain unauthorized access to SCP-501's containment cell will be either detained for psychological evaluation or terminated depending on the clearance level. Okay, so they really don't want... looks like whatever is in there is either very dangerous, I mean it's Euclid, or can be used in a dangerous way. Because they definitely don't want whatever is in there. I mean, most SCPs don't want the Afro. They don't want anything of them to go out of the cage. But there are probably ways that the thing can leave that has to do with people just entering without authorization. Description: due to the nature of SCP-501's psychological effects when viewed, it is difficult to ascertain an accurate visual description. Okay. I actually kind of like those ones that make it harder for the Foundation to look at them. I mean, 096 is a good example. Like, you just don't want to risk taking a look. But, and 173 as well. Like, I mean, 173, like, you kind of have to look. If you look away, then, but you have. That's so basically the opposite. But 096 is like I love how it's like, yeah, we don't know how it looked like, so we had to sacrifice a D class by sending him to the other end of the world underwater just so he can draw what he sees on the picture. According to reports from D-class personnel who have had visual contact with SCP-501, it is an American $1 bill that radiates glowing amber aura. Okay. Robotically controlled chemical analysis indicates that it is chemical identical to ordinary dollar bills. Alright, George Washington, what have you done? When a person views SCP-501, they are immediately overwhelmed by a desire to obtain it. Studies with D-class personnel have shown that this desire fades after a time, but that the time increases exponentially the longer SCP-501 is viewed. Further studies have shown... First studies have shown that those affected by SCP-501 will stop at nothing to fulfill their desire, willingly resorting to violence and even self-mutilation to achieve their goal. Woo! Damn, they really want that $1 bill. You can almost, it's almost like Mr. Krabs with that $1 bill. Like, it's my first $1. Do not make it. Do not get it dirty. Wow. Okay. Self-mutilation. Oof. Viewing SCP-501 indirectly through a monitor or while wearing vision-reducing goggles does not seem to hinder SCP-501's effect in any way. Oh, well, that's just fantastic. An experiment was conducted to ascertain the effect of SCP-501 on individuals who are successful in obtaining it. D-Class number D501 was chained to the wall of the containment cell, and all other personnel were evacuated from the cell. The security monitors were briefly switched off as a programmed robotic arm opened the safe containing SCP-501, allowing D501 to view it briefly. The arm then proceeded to move SCP-501 onto a machine in the cell that hermetically sealed SCP-501 in an opaque jet black steel case. Researchers then re-entered the cell and unchained D501 from the wall, allowing him to obtain the sealed SCP-501, at which point the researchers moved to a safe viewing location to observe the action of D501. A speaker was placed on the ceiling. Researchers were instructed to grant all requests made by D501 that would not involve releasing him from the cell, would not result in possible visual exposure of the researchers to SCP-501, and would not violate safety or security protocols. The test began at 1:43 p.m. Can you imagine? He just takes it out and just shows it to everybody. And everybody watching him goes nuts. They just go mental like, I really want that $1 bill. I need it. I can finally go to the $1 market and get myself a lollipop. Although I highly doubt they're going to use that $1 bill to buy anything. Because it looks like they just want to keep it. But is that all it does? That you just want to have it? I understand it's, the Euclid part is that you look at it and suddenly you go nuts. You're like, oh, Georgie! How I desire you. I understand that part. But, I mean, once you have it, well, Afro, read ahead because it probably will say what it does. So, this takes place at the 20th of October, 2009. That's the time, 1:43 p.m. Subject acquires the sealed SCP-501. Subject stares at it without blinking for 10 minutes. Ooh, those must be some dry eyes. Just purely like... Some researchers believe that the subject is still able to see SCP-501 even through its sealed case. That would be an interesting test. You can like show it to somebody like without looking at it yourself. Just like eyes closed, lock it up, and then walk behind like a wall, and then they'll be like, "Okay, D501, where is the dollar bill right now?" And he just points to where the guy's standing. That would be interesting to know. That would be interesting to know if that's actually possible. If they can actually see, even if it's locked away behind a wall, if they can see the dollar. Then 10 minutes later, the subject suddenly stops there and begins to strip all of his clothes. I mean, okay. Researchers hear him muttering, "I must remove the contamination." Repeatedly as he does this. The contamination? Like your clothes? Huh? Subject throws, 2 minutes later, the subject throws all the removed clothing into the corner of the room, after which he looks into the speaker and requests a razor. Request tentatively granted. The razor is carried in by an armed security guard. Subject takes the item and the guard leaves. Subject immediately and violently shaves off all of the hair and on his body and discards it in the same corner as his clothes. It's like dry and you don't have any shaving cream. You just as he shaves, he is heard over the speaker repeatedly muttering, "Begone, unwanted possessions." Your skin or the hair? Subject discards the razor in a similar fashion to his hair and clothing after he finishes using it. 5 minutes later, subject enters a lotus position and begins to meditate without closing his eyes or taking his eyes off the sealed SCP-501. I can see now why maybe having this in your possession might be a bad idea. 3 minutes later, the subject is heard whispering, "I see," to himself. He stands up and looks again at the speakers. He says, "I hereby renounce all of my worldly possession other than the Holy One. I do not need anything other than the Holy One. Everything else is a contamination and must be forsaken." A researcher acknowledged the request, after which the subject immediately returns to his meditative stance. And he was in there for 4 days. The subject ceases breathing. The subject has not moved since he resumed his meditation, and he's presumed to have died of thirst. Wow. Wow, George Washington. Making people die of thirst. Is that what he wanted all this time, huh? No, just kidding. But man. Okay, I can now see what the underlying issue is of obtaining this $1 bill. Yeah, you kind of think that you can just survive without anything. The only thing you need is this $1, and next thing you know, you perish. Even though it's rated pretty low, I kind of like this one. I understand that maybe there's not much to I don't know. I actually don't know why this is rated this low. I was trying to think of a reason. I think this kind of deserves to be in the 200 plus rating. Like, come on, like. Now it also makes sense. The monks' greed, because of the whole like monks like saying like they don't need anything. All they need is it's just what is necessary, right? Food, water. That's it. And even then, they try to like not take a lot. They try to like keep it to the amount that is needed, not the amount that you want. So I can understand where the title is coming from. I think this is a pretty cool one. I do honestly think it deserves more in the rating system. You know what? Can I would have to create an account here. Okay, yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. All right, next one. The surrogate heart. All right. This was almost 160. It's safe. Here we go. Special containment procedures. SCP-502 is to be secured in a keypad-locked steel file cabinet in the medical suites at blank. The key code is to be changed on a bi-weekly basis for security reasons. Senior medical staff on site will have knowledge of the key code, as will at least 3 other on-site personnel of level 3 or higher clearance. Description. SCP-502 was obtained from Donovan County Coroner Office in Troy, Kansas in 1990 blank. It was discovered by a local coroner blank during a routine autopsy of a Jared Thomas McIntyre following his death in a motorcycle collision. SCP-502 was located in a space that should have been occupied by the deceased heart and was attached to the pulmonary and circulatory systems. SCP-502 was later then retrieved by SCP agents after began circulating questions about the box. When unlabeled, SCP-502 has the appearance of an off-white cardboard container with dimensions of 9.75 cm times 9.75 cm times 7.73 cm with a removable lid measuring 9.95 centimeters, 9.95 centimeters, 1.34 centimeters. The thickness of the cardboard at all locations is exactly 0.10 centimeters. There are no visible seams on the corner or edges of the box or lid, nor any interior reinforcement. When initially recovered, the item had the word heart written on it in cursive handwriting in what appeared to be a blue ink, and had holes in the side and back that approximated the insertion points of the vena cava, aorta, and pulmonary arteries and veins, as well as internal divisions that resembled the chamber of the heart. Okay. Whew. A lot of numbers, a lot of big boy words, and when an appropriate organ name is written on the lid of SCP... Oh, is this what I think it is? Of SCP-502, it slowly reimages itself into a crude approximation of that organ. If a second organ name is written on the lid, the first name written will disappear within 20 minutes, at which the time rearrangement to the new configuration will begin. If all names are erased from the lid, the standard size will be adopted. If SCP-502 is surgically implanted in a human subject while labeled as an organ and appropriately attached to the relevant organ system, it will function in a manner identical to the organ. Testing has determined that SCP-502 will only function under certain circumstances, but it's still pretty cool that it can adapt. It can become any organ you need, as long as you write it down. Okay. Which makes you think, the person that had it as a heart, how did he get it? How did he get this? I highly doubt he found himself, wrote hard, and just just added that into his own chest. I feel like he might have gotten from some sort of surgery. And if that's the case, who gave him that? Like, which hospital gave him that? God damn, it always happens. Whenever I drink out of this side, it just drops for some reason, even though it's fully closed. Yeah, honestly, I should not drink out of this. At least not out this way. Just like, I should just casually drink it normally. Because every time I drink it like that, it just spills out. The subject is to receive a replacement organ must be living human and must be missing the organ before SCP-502 is introduced to the subject's body. Okay, if any of those conditions are not met, the replacement organ will either be rejected or will not function at all. I don't know why the idea of putting this thing, SCP-502, into your body, and you're already dead, like, as it says, it doesn't meet the condition, and the only thing that happens is just like, boom! It just ejects itself back out, it like instantaneously, like, just flies out of your body again. I don't know why I had that image. But okay, now that means whoever has that at the heart was definitely alive. So he must have either he just had it in his body this whole time, or he had to go through some sort of surgery where they had to do a heart transplant. Because that is possible to keep that to do that, right? But yeah, that's risky, but yeah. Following extensive testing, it has been decided by O5-blank that due to SCP-502's potential life-saving capabilities, it will be kept in storage and is only to be implanted into a human in case of a life-threatening injury to any director or in emergency situation with approval of any director to lower-level staff or civilians that must be kept alive temporarily to assist in SCP with information gathering or containment. Okay, so that's good. In case of SCP-502 being used to sustain any individual other than a director, the subject is to be terminated as soon as feasible, and SCP-502 is to be returned to storage. Question: if a certain organ, or your whole in general your body has a disease that affects an organ or your body overall, does it affect this? Let's just say you have lung cancer, but then you replace the one lung that has the cancer with this one, if that's possible. Would you not have lung cancer anymore? Or would it just repeat the same thing? And if you would replace the one lung that does not have cancer, would the lung cancer spread to this device? I'm just wondering, could a patient who has a certain type of disease contaminate this device, and the next person that gets this put into their body receives the same disease? I doubt it is the case, but I feel like whenever you write down the organ part and it reshapes itself, it might just cleanse whatever it had before. This is just pure theorization, but yeah, I'm wondering if it could be affected. And let's just say you have a disease that affects a certain lung, but then you take a certain organ and you take that organ out, you replace it with this one. Does it get affected the same way by that disease? And so there's so many questions when it comes to diseases in this thing now. but it's pretty cool that you have a way to like keep somebody healthy if you need them to be healthy. SCP the 500s, the beginning of the 500 has 2 ways to keep you alive: the pills and this thing. For testing procedures, those will level 3 claimants should not see documents -1 and -2. Okay, here we have document -1. Test log for initial test phase of SCP-502, the 18th of May, 90 blank. A little box reads hard at the beginning of testing. Lung, liver, pancreas, and eye are written on the. Oh, you can. Okay. Are written on the lid one at a time. On each occasion, the previously written were faded from view over a period of time, ranging from 5 minutes 11 seconds to a maximum of 18 minutes for 4 seconds. After this, the exterior dimension and interior design of SCP-502 slowly changed to accommodate the respective organ. When skin is written on the lid, SCP-502 flattened to a 1.6 centimeters in thickness and continued to expand in length and width until researchers were forced to erase the word from acetone and allow the box dimensions to return to default. I see that it was just keep expanding because skin. It could skin is not really like. Yeah, like right now, our skin is in the shape of our body, but if you just write skin on an object and becomes skin, it doesn't mean it just becomes a human skin, like in the same like fingers and nose and all that. It would literally just expand until like who knows how long. 5 days later, organ names are written on the lid in a variety of mediums, including ink, graphite, oil paint, water-based paint, crayon, blood, and permanent marker. All functioning, although easily erased or damaged mediums often result in SCP-502 reverting to its standard size when the word was damaged. So, okay, you have to write on it somehow that it doesn't easily get erased if you want the organ. So basically, don't get anything that liquid helps erasing it, because blood and our meat just rubbing against that thing, it would be bad if like, can you imagine in the middle of having a casual day, that thing just malfunctions because the writing, you're just like, fuck, help, get that thing out, mean. Almost a month later, organ names are written on the lid in Latin, Greek, Russian, Chinese, Japanese, French, Italian, Esperanto, and blank. SCP-502 showed no reaction except in case where the organ names were identical in spelling to the English name. Okay, English only, it seems. Interesting. What if you write in body parts, like finger? Document 2. Test log for live testing in subjects -1 through -6. So -1. Class D subject chosen to. This made my mouth all so like this saliva was just like, and I was like, I can't speak. Also, I'm super hungry. I haven't eaten much the last 2 days. Class D subject chosen due to diagnosed renal failure, kidney, written on boxlet and time allowed for rearrangement. One of the subject kidneys is surgically removed. After successful implementation, subject -1 urine analysis shows an improvement in renal functions, satisfactory for a healthy individual. SCP-502 is recovered after subject's standard monthly termination. Okay. So you can replace one that, as I said, as we mentioned before, it can replace a broken one, but does it get affected by something disease-wise? I hope that actually says something. I would be very fascinated about that. Subject -2, Class D subject with full renal function. Kidneys still written on boxlet from previous tests. One of the subject kidneys is surgically removed after successful implementation. Subject -2 urine analysis shows renal function equivalent to that of a healthy individual. SCP-502 is recovered after subject's standard monthly termination. Okay, that shows us it doesn't make it better. It's the same. It's if you were healthy before and you implement that into you stay healthy. That's good. Okay, that's interesting. Subject -3. Class D subject who died in custody due to cardiac failure. Heart is written on lid and time allowed to rearrangement. SB502 successfully implement and attached to the pulmonary and circulatory assistance but results in no function or reanimation. Yeah, as it mentions, you have to be alive. Otherwise, it doesn't work. Subject of -4, Class D subject with no known medical issues, gills written on box and time allowed for rearrangement. Subject lungs are removed while on life support machinery and replaced with SCP-502, but proper attachment could not be finalized and subject dies during surgery. Yeah, probably because like humans are not meant to have gills, so if you try to add that to your I mean, it would be like saying like heat vision eyeball, you know, like, and then you do it, and then one human shoots the heat vision, but it might hurt him because humans are not meant to have that sort of power, or are not used to having that sort of power. You know what I mean? Like of course it doesn't work. Okay, subject -5, adult Labrador retriever suffering from hepatic failure, liver written on boxlet, and a time allowed for rearrangement. Subject liver is removed and replaced with SB502. However, the SCP is rejected under 24 hours and subject dies. Aww. That's a shame. I wonder why. Oh yeah, because it has to be human. So this is basically how they found out that you have to be alive and you have to be human. Oh, come on. That Labrador deserves to live. Fucking SCP-502. Humanist bitch. Subject 6. Class D subject with history of mental illness due to diagnosed brain tumor. Brain written on box lid and time allowed for rearrangement. Subject's brain is removed while on life support machinery and replaced with SCP-502. Upon waking from anesthesia, subject -6 data expunged. 2 medical staff and 3 level 2 security personnel are injured, and subject -6 is killed by small arms fire during hostilities to prevent further danger to staff. SB502 were recovered during autopsy. Further live testing halted while data expunged recorded during this incident are being analyzed. Yes, I can kind of see how that's not a good idea. Like, it's a brain. It's not your brain. It's an SCP as a brain. That you should have thought about beforehand. I know hindsight is 2020, but man, you should definitely have thought about that. Maybe we should not make an SCP think. If it doesn't think to begin with. Like, it only works as a functionable organ. But yeah, if you make a brain out of it, then the brain is not, it's not your own thought, it's this thing's thought. So the moment it learns that it can think and knows that you're using it for your own personal gain, of course it will start to go aggressive. But yeah, no, I think this is, again, interesting how we got 2 different medical type SCPs at the very beginning of this stuff. Right, almost right next to each other. There's only one in between, which was the monk's greed, which was definitely not medical. That was, I guess, like the whole monk's lifestyle can be seen as a medical assist, like, because like whenever you leave the monk traditions or like you are done with your monk schooling, you probably will feel mentally much stronger. Maybe not only mentally, but physically as well. Like, imagine like months of not needing any of this shit right here. Like fucking headphones, music, phones, TV, this chair, and so on and so forth. And then you come back, you probably just are much stronger mentally and physically and emotionally. So yeah, but I would still argue that SCP-501 is not really good for you. Compared to these 2, at least. Alright. The luckiest man in the world. I don't know why. This one seems familiar. Maybe another SCP has talked about it. I'm not sure. But hey, it's Euclid. Also, but also the luckiest man in the world is also such a interesting character trope for like shows. You know, like in Battle Blood Blockade. There's also like the guy who's like the most luckiest man. In the Donald Duck comics, his cousin is the luckiest duck. It's always very fascinating to have like this as a character, to like someone who has so much luck. And in most cases, people around that character have the biggest unluck, because like it's like something like, oh, I was almost getting hit by a meteor, or like by a train, or by a car, but it didn't happen, but somebody else got hit by that shit, you know what I mean? Like, it's crazy stuff. Okay, let's go. Special containment procedures. SCP-503 is to be kept within a secure holding cell at all times. No fewer than 4 security cameras must be positioned within the cell. SCP-503 must be under constant observation. Any strange movements or attempts to obscure the view of the cameras must be treated as a full-scale emergency. Any researcher studying SCP-503 must be searched for dangerous objects before entering its cell. The cell must be searched daily for any potential dangerous objects. Here's the thing, though. I feel like if he wants to get out, I don't know how his luck works, but if this guy must be cooperative, because imagine if he's not. He would cause breaches every day. Every day there's a security breach, just so he can go out. You know what I mean? Like, unless this man does not want to stay, unless this man is not cooperative at all, they just have probably the hardest SCP to contain. I know it's Euclid and not Keto, even though Keto doesn't necessarily mean has a easier time to escape. But I'm just saying, like, if he's not cooperative, that must be a bitch to contain. That must be so hard to contain. No procedures. The searches are not optional. I don't care if you think they're a waste of time. I refer anyone who thinks otherwise to Incident Report 503-B. Dr. Blank. Okay, something happened. I'm really curious, and this one might be really cool to read about. Let's see what it says, shall we? Description: SCP-503 is a Caucasian male, 63 years of age. There's a bunch of old guys, like the one of the SCPs from Old Sun Man. Yeah, there's one from the 490s. There's also an old man. There's also the guy who ages backwards, who is also still pretty old, and another one who can predict the future and all that stuff. Like there's a lot of old people in the Foundation. The subject is bald, formerly black hair with brown eyes. The subject's lower jaw is a prosthetic. I don't know why I have a problem saying that word. As a result of Incident 503-A. Oh. Interesting. So there was an incident that actually he got injured by. Interesting. You think like with the luckiest man on Earth, you would not get injured at all. There is a large scar on the subject's chest as a result of oh my god. On test log-5. Okay. SCP-503 demonstrates a remarkably proclivity towards short-term good fortune and long-term misfortune. Ah. Then is he really the luckiest man if it all just becomes unlucky a couple months later or a couple days later? This was first apparent at age 11 when the subject was involved in an automobile accident with his family. Oh no. While the subject survived, its parents as well as 2 siblings died, of course. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, being the luckiest person doesn't mean everybody else around you is lucky. And that's cool. Can you imagine? You're the only one that survived a car crash. 4 of your family members died. You're the only one that survives. And then I'm pretty sure there are people. So it's 50-50. Some people will be like, man, that's the luckiest kid ever. That that car crash should have killed him. He survived that. Unbelievable. And some people be like, he's the unluckiest kid ever because he lost everything on that very day. He lost his father, his mother, and his 2 siblings. Like, which side will you guys be on? I would say he's unlucky. In that very moment, he's unlucky. Yes, he survived the car crash, but he lost so much. In addition, the subject was trapped within the car for blank days before rescue. So not only did he survive and lost everything, he was in that car for that's a double-digit fucking number being blanked out. At least over 9 days in that car, seeing your dead mother, father, and siblings probably decaying in front. Oh boy, that's fucked. This is even though the first one is highly rated, I think this one is the most fucked SCP so far. I mean, to be fair, the other ones weren't, like, the only fucked up ones before was the Monk's Greed, right? The other ones were more useful for medical stuff. But this, wow, from all the ones I read today, this one is, okay, let's see here. The subject has had 3 marriages. Oh no. I'm gonna feel so bad for this man. I'm gonna feel like this guy must be depressed as hell. Here we go. This is gonna be an emotional roller coaster. I can see it coming. The first ending, divorce. The second ending, when the subject wife was killed in an automobile. And oh my god! Can you imagine? Your second wife dies in a car crash. You would have PTSD of car crashes. You should be like, oh, you lost your family for one car crash, and then you lose your second wife from another one. Oh no. I'm actually getting goosebumps. This hurts. The third ending, when the subject's wife committed suicide. During this time, the subject has had 10 children, none of whom currently live. Why? Why do you have to do this to the poor man? Why do you have to do that? Why do you have to do that? He does. Wow. How is this anything of this lucky? Again, I understand it's like a short-term luck, but so far, as far as the subject is aware, it has no living family. The subject has survived falling from a 34-story window, a plane crash in the North Atlantic, 2 additional automobile accidents, and the destruction of the whole World Trade Center on, oh my god. It has survived suicide attempts via hanging, overdose, self-immolation, and firearms. See, incident 5-3. Okay, that's probably how he got the... Although the subject has won the lottery on 2 separate occasions, by the time the foundation took custody of it, medical bills had left it in heavy debt. His life is shitty. SCP-503 is currently being studied by Dr. Blank to determine if the subject's properties can be reverse engineered to increase the survival chances of field agents. Yeah, I assume fucking agents around him just get into like some sort of accidents with other SCPs, with firearms, with anything. Incident Report A. 6 days before SCP-503 came into Foundation custody, it attempted suicide via shotgun. My man, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. As it held the shotgun along its torso, firing up through the jaw somehow absorbed most of the blast, destroying the jaw and causing massive cranial trauma. A neighbor who heard the blast found the subject and took it to the hospital, where it was discovered and retrieved by Foundation agents who had been monitoring the hospital for a possible outbreak of SCP blank. He wants to die, but nothing allows him to die. even if you ask the Foundation to kill him, it probably will lead up that he will not die from it. Like, even if they give him, like, here in Switzerland we have something called Exit. Some of you might heard of it, where a person can actually go to them and ask to have an injection that will let you pass peacefully. It's mostly used for elderly people who, and this is on the decision of the they give. They don't just decide, like the family doesn't just decide, like let's just give them. The elderly person decides as well if they want to take it or not, or people who are handicapped and don't want to live that way, like they weren't used to be, or they are from the beginning and decide like, yeah, no, I don't want to live like this. So Exit, and has caused, of course, a lot of like ethical and moral questions, like should you be able to is this considered murder or not? But for some people, like there's a whole movie, that romantic movie, where a guy ends up getting paralyzed from the waist below, gets a caretaker, they fall in love, but he then says, I want to go to Switzerland and take Exit and pass on. He does, even though he fell in love, he cannot live the way he is right now. And I assume with this man right here, with 503, SCP-503, if he went to go to Exit and get injected with this thing, either someone would cause the doctor to not show up, like as in like they can't show up, or the doctors get injured, or even if it gets injected, maybe something like, wow, there's a 1 million chance that the injection just doesn't work. You know what I mean? Like, okay. I'm sorry. This makes me emotional. I just feel so bad for this man. Incident report B. During the experiment recorded in test log 503-B-blank, researcher assistant B-blank was not searched by security prior to entering the subject's cell. During the experiment, B-blank left behind a ballpoint pen with which SCP-503 attempted to kill itself 31 minutes after the end of experiment. Although it survived, it was left in critical condition for 6 days. Researcher assistant B-blank has been disciplined and reassigned. That must be the scar that. Yeah, like how. Is there any way for him to not survive? I guess like you gotta like do the razor down here, right? Just get all the arteries, but knowing his SCP power, it would just not work. Test log 1, card-based guessing game, 100% success rate. Test log 2, game of roulette, 100% success rate. Test log 3, game of poker, won every hand until last, at which point subject went all in, wagered all winnings, and lost game. Okay, we established he's good at games. That is not why we're interested in him. We need to go bigger. Yeah, but this just shows game of poker. Short time luck, long time misfortune. So yeah, he can earn a lot in the first couple of rounds, but then you can lose it all instantaneously right afterwards again. Test log 4. Firearm aimed at head, point blank. He's probably like, please just do it. 60 consecutive misfires with 17 different weapons. Later laboratory testing determined that the weapon failed due to variously jams caused by debris, malfunctioning parts, or total mechanical failure. Of particular note is the final weapon used, a revolver, a type of weapon renowned for its reliability, which jammed due to a slight mechanical defect that could only be replicated after 254 test shots in the laboratory, and since then has yet to be replicated at a second time, despite blank additional test firings. During tests for the revolver failed to fire 8 consecutive times. Wow. Test log 5. Russian roulette with 1 empty chamber aimed at subject's chest. Severe trauma to chest, bullet passed through center of heart, piercing no chambers, rib broken. Subject survives. Dr. Blank has been disciplined and reassigned. Dr. Blank will carry out further testing. See test report. Wow, I feel so bad for him. I'm so sad for this man. This is not... He wants to die so bad. This is unfair. He lived his whole life in pain. Even if he has a moment of happiness, like winning the lottery, it will turn around in such a way that he will end up in fucking debt. Aha! Wow, that hit hard. That hit so hard. And I might do this one. But that's a cruel one to do. Critical tomatoes. Critical headshot. Okay, let's see what this. 1,080. Wow. Wow. Sorry, I just gotta stand up a little bit. Got a little bit uncomfortable sitting down all the time. Whoo! 1,080. Damn, that's some high rating right there. Take off my slippers. That's some high rating, and it's safe. Special containment procedures. All seeds, plants, fruits, crossbreeds, and other products of SCP-504 are to be classified as not that. As SCP-504. Oh, interesting. Usually they will have like 504-1, but it looks like it's just all of it is 504. SCP-504 seeds need no special containment other than to prevent misuse by unauthorized personnel. Like, who the fuck? Like, here's the thing. There's a lot of SCPs where they talk about how the Foundation itself are a bunch of pranksters as well. Like, even though they have such a serious job, there's still a couple people who decide, like, how about we just use this to make a prank, bruh? I'm like, Special Beam? Who are you? Why would you ever, in this scenario, fuck around? I understand that it's a rough job, it's a depressing job, but I would not fuck around with any of this. Okay. Grown SCP-504 plants and their fruits should be kept in soundproof rooms. Guards and researchers assigned to maturing or growing SCP-504 are to be equipped with radio-enabled masks, which insulate non-transmitted sound and are to be instructed to avoid attempts at humor. At humor? Well, I can walk around, make some jokes with a couple of my mates, a couple of my tomates, yeah? You can't allow me to just have a bit of a fun time, huh? What is it gonna do, kill me? Probably. SCP description. SCP-504 is a species of tomato physically and genetically identical to that of the typical commercially grown tomato. It was recovered in redacted Kentucky after a woman reported to the police that her former husband had been murdered by his lunch. Well, did he choke on it, or like, I feel like if he choked on it, then it could have just him being an idiot. I mean, not an idiot, just unlucky. Like, he just ate too fast, and it just went down the wrong pipe, and he's like, you know what I mean? Like, it happens. But yeah, if he's not careful, he might have just popped in the whole tomato, like, and was like not thinking about it, and he just went in. The Foundation is currently working to identify and destroy loose strains of SCP-504 in the surrounding commercial farming areas. When a poor attempt at humor is a poor attempt. I will survive. My attempt at humor is never poor. It is always B-class material. Verbally within human hearing range of SCP-504's tomatoes, they instantly accelerate to a speed of at least 100 miles per... Like, they fucking jump at you? What? I see you're trying to make a joke. Too bad it's not funny. Miles per hour, approximately 160 kilometers. finally numbers I understand. Kilometers per, that is, wow, that's fast. 45 meters per second. So they would run 100 meter track in 2.3 seconds, something like that. That is some speed. Just holding a tomato. Hey, dude! Like, just this person you hate. Give me a joke. Oh, okay, I guess. And then just does a poor joke, and the tomato's like, oh, you anger my tomato. In the direction of the sound source, only mature tomatoes separated from the vines and less than 10% rotted or chemically compromised exhibit this effect once each. Tomatoes do not have to be physically intact, though ingested tomatoes are usually insulated enough from sound to prevent their effects before neutralization by stomach acids. Okay, so if you eat them, you better hope that you have, that they cannot hear you down there, and that the stomach acid is like fast enough. SCP-504 tomatoes seem to reach speeds relative to the inciting attempt at humor. See experiment log. What do you mean? Like, the worse the humor is, the faster they go? What do you mean? Relevant variables seem to include corniness, humor to length ratio, and use of puns. Language appears irrelevant. So even if you do a joke in German. No, whoever snuck SCP-504 into a cafeteria kitchen is getting terminated. Those tomato slices are like fucking shurikens. Dr. Black. Oh man. A food fight would be deadly with these things. Okay, here we go. The test logs. Item 1 mature SCP-504 tomato. Did I always say 4 or 5 by accident before? If I did, you can say it in comment. I'm an idiot. I am an idiot. Subject D504-1. It's a hippopotamus. Spoken is a hippopotamus, or just a really cool opotamus. No change in velocity, so it's still pretty fast, eh? 1 mature SCP-504 tomato. Subject, okay. What's an archaeologist? Someone whose career is in ruins. Tomato clocked. Tomato clocked at 124 miles per hour. Subject suffered a broken nose. Yeah, he's lucky he suffered a broken nose, nothing else. It appears that SCP-504 has certain taste in jokes. This might indicate sapience. I hope not. Dr. Blast. Another mature. Yeah. Subject -2. 3 tomatoes are walking down the street. A papa tomato, a mama tomato, and a little baby tomato. Baby tomato starts lagging behind. Papa tomato gets angry, goes over to baby tomato and smushes him and says, catch up. Tomato clocked at, oh Jesus, he did not like that. Tomato clocked at 264 miles per hour. Subject went unconscious. It looks like the tomato really hates tomato-based humor. Okay. Subject -3. So I was going to bed and my brother told me, good night, don't let the bed bugs stick their propolis in your skin, suck your blood. Pause. Good luck on a healthy dermis. 2-second pause before activity. Tomato clocked at redacted. Sound barrier broken. Subject kill. Wow. If SCP-096 could make jokes and somebody sees a picture of the SCP on the other side of the world, I want to see who would be faster. The SCP-096 or this one. Just, it's a whole chase, like vroom. Just this humanoid monster creature just running on the street while a tomato is flying after him. I can't. Sound barrier broken. Are you kidding me? 3 mature, 3, each from different crossbreeds. Subject -4. If you have dentures, don't use artificial sweetener, cause you'll get a fake cavity. All 3 tomatoes clocked exactly 145 miles per hour. Subject injured, 2 teeth dislodged. Ah. Hey, one mature tomato split into quarters. D5, subject -5. I tried to walk into a target, but I missed. All 4 pieces clocked at 212 miles per hour. Subject severely injured. Right eye destroyed by a piece of. Oh boy. One mature tomato. CD player playing harmful if swallowed. 2003 Dane Cook. At redacted tomato clocked 167 miles per hour. CD player destroyed. It works with recording stamina. It didn't even have to deal with class D's in the first place. Yeah, you can just record it. You guys should have tested this first. My God, you got some of y'all. You're scientists in a non-learned field, basically. Who can learn for this, honestly? 3 mature SCP tomatoes, 1 for each test subject. After the introduction to the following new items, bomb, blows, hole, and land statue, the 3 following jokes were made. Test subject 1, oh, that's gonna leave a marks. Result tomato number 1 twitched, but did not displace from its original location. Test subject 2, BBC is just stalling the good news. Tomato clocked at 152 miles per hour. Chipped tooth and hairline jaw fracture. Okay. Test subject 3, that blows. Tomato clocked at redacted subject is hospitalized with a massive skull fracture. I thought you just said you don't need. I thought we just established that recordings work in place of live subjects. I know how much you guys hate the D class, especially D. Whatever he did. Poor guy might not even recover before termination rolls around, but I'm making it clear that whoever oversaw this round of testing is getting a serious reprimand. The same goes for whoever leaked its video logs to the staff, Dr. Blast. Wow. So even though I was about to say, like, why are they still using a live test subject if they just found out you can use recordings, but somebody actually just sent. Wow. And now it's confirmed. It's confirmed that the doctors actually hate the D class, or at least some of them. Okay, 1 mature tomato. Television playing the SNL Sarah Palin and Hillary Clinton skit. Tomato react as if confused. Slow motion video shows 3 separate bursts of speeds in excess of 200 miles per hour. 2 incidents of motion at normal throwing seeds, and 1 unprecedented incident of backward motion, all in the one trajectory. Dr. King hypothesized that the tomato was unsure whether or not to take it seriously. 1 mature tomato, a portable computer playing a pre-recorded engineering joke. 2009 is going to be a complex year. We already know the real part. We still have to find the imaginary part. Supersonic blast detected. Computer was completely vaporized by the tomato kinetic energy. Sensor reading indicate at an approximate speed of 3,500 kilometers per hour or 2,174 miles per. Whoa! I'm surprised that only the computer got destroyed. I'm surprised that the wall behind it didn't get obliterated as well. 1 mature tomato, a portable computer playing a partial audio recording of the Monty Python sketch, the funniest joke in the world. Wenn ist das Nunstruck Git und Sotomayor? Ja, Bayerhund, das oder die Flipperwald gespurt. Tomato explodes. Debris clocked at 132.7 miles per hour. Computer heavily coated by debris. Keyboard ruined by exposure to liquid matter. All the components proved functionally after cleanup. So it looks like if a tomato likes a joke, it just dies. It just. 1 mature, a portable computer playing text of, I don't know what that one is, data expunged. Okay, wow. This was fun to read. This was fun. I can see why this one has 1,080 ratings. This was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this one. I can't believe that they have tomatoes that broke the fucking sound barrier and one that went supersonic as well. Jesus Christ. Now I can just imagine the wife's husband eating the sandwich. Slats a tomato inside there. Makes a horrible joke and the tomato just decapitates him, you know, like. Oh. Yeah, that must be a weird story to go around telling people. How did he die? He got sliced by a tomato. Woo boy, I am super hungry. There's 1, 2, 3. There's 5 left to go. We only reached halfway. Oh boy, don't let. Oh, this is gonna be a longer one. This is the longer one. This is one of the long ones. Okay, here we go. Ink stain. Keter. 277. Okay, 277. Special containment procedures. SCP-504 is contained in a 50 meters times 40 meters times 10 meters room at site blank. SCP-504 containment area are to be sealed other than one secure airlock and a series of pipes allowing transport of SCP-505. Did I say 504 before? 505-1 to storage tanks in the event of SCP-505-1 reaching levels in which it possesses a danger to containment. Sprayers for whatever that means, are to be available through SCP-505's containment area and the rest of Site Blank to combat a containment breach. In the event of a spill of SCP-1, the affected area should immediately be covered with an absorbent material, commercial blotting paper, and currently standard for this purpose, and doused with alcohol or acetone, if that is not immediately available. That immersion is the method of choice for -1 containment, followed by incineration of affected material if practicable. There are currently blank instances of SCP-1 points of secondary containment outside SCP-505's primary containment area. Containment in this area is variable, but efforts have been made to make procedures as similar to those of the primary site if possible. Of those secondary contamination zones, blank are unable to be fully contained at this time, resulting in the spread of -1 throughout the environment. These sites are to be monitored at all times, and countermeasure development is of the highest priority. For a complete list of -1 secondary containment sites, see document 505-14A-blank. Okay, here we go. Description. SCP-505 is a model blank Faber-Castell fountain pen produced in 2001. The documentation of its acquisition by the Foundation, see Addendum -2, is identical in all respects to a standard fountain pen apart from its association with -1. -1 is the black ink produced by SCP-505, which exhibits the property of self-replication. Okay. How does that work? Does it just write by itself, or does it just increase, just spread around the paper? -1 spreads at a variable rate affected by the substance it comes into contact with and the amount of -1 present. Quantities of -1 have been shown to increase at rates between 0.5 and 540 milliliter per second. Standard ink removing chemicals are able to partially remove -1 and inhibit its spread. However, sodium hydroxide is necessary to remove -1 contamination completely and has shown to be ineffective in environments with particularly high -1 concentrations. Fortunately, the growth rate of -1 appears to be inversely proportional to its quantity at high concentration. Whilst the observed effects of this are negligible in most cases, this inverse growth phenomenon provides the only explanation for the partial containment of -1, despite a number of cases of large-scale environment contamination which were projected to otherwise lead to an NK class and end-of-the-world scenario. Wow. So basically, some blood of ink and it just. But why? Now I wonder why. Why would this be considered a world end of the world scenario? It's ink. Does it do anything else than just spread? I understand you don't want the whole world to end up being in black ink. I understand clearly that the whole world being covered in black ink would probably mess a lot of things up. But yeah, what else does it do? Whilst -1 exhibits no unusual properties other than its constant spread and partial resistance to removal, it nonetheless poses serious difficulties for control. -1 will flow across non-absorbent surfaces and pass through through porous surfaces in identical fashion into normal ink. All liquid or solid objects or beings in contact with -1 will be contaminated. -1 will still adhere to non-porous surfaces such as metals, but newly produced -1 will constantly flow off. Oh shit. Okay. Non-porous materials are thus catalyzed for -1 spread, and all -1 contamination should be recovered in porous materials such as blotting paper. For this reason, it is not possible to permanently contain -1 in a non-porous container, as said container contents will gradually increase quantity, leading to increased pressure and subsequent rupture. All containers being used to contain -1 must therefore be drained periodically to prevent a containment breach. -1 effects on its environment are identical to those of an equivalent quantity of standard fountain pen ink. -1 exposure will inevitably lead to the death of living organs. Okay, here we go. That's the part I was looking for. Plant matter will be killed due to inhibition of photosynthesis, whereas animals will be killed due to chemical poisoning. In humans and other mammals, -1 contact will most likely be via the skin, where it will spread until it reaches an orifice or break in the skin and subsequently enter the vascular system through mucous membranes. -1 will spread through the vascular and have the vasculature and have catastrophic effects on all organ system. It reaches as it continuously replicates and is unusable to be excreted by the urinary system. Cause of death is generally multiple organ failure, although in most cases affected individual will be terminated and decontaminated prior to this. For contamination procedure to these instances, see addendum 1. That's the thing I was looking for. I knew it would come. I knew something like that would come. Because I was like, if it just spreads, then the only thing that would suck major dick is that the whole world would just be black ink. Everything would just be black ink. All the color would be gone. It's just black ink. That would suck. But I was like, it must be something else. It must be something else that it does that would give it the whole world-ending scenario. And here it is. It kills plant life. It kills animals. It kills humans. It once it reaches your skin, it will just, like, if it reaches your hand, it will just, and then slowly, eventually, all that stuff. I can see how that is dangerous to us. I'm very hungry right now, but I will finish reading. This will probably be like a 3-hour video. I'm very sorry about that, guys. But again, you can choose which recipe you're most interested in. It will be tough. I will try to give each. I will try to create a thumbnail that would show each individual thing if it's possible. SCP -1 also has been increased rate of spread through non-viscous fluids such as water, as would be expected of normal ink. Any contamination of the water table with -1 must be prevented at all costs due to potential for an NK class end of the world scenario. It is unknown whether -1 aforementioned property of an inversely proportional rate of spread will manifest in fluids, as experimentation with such high quantities of -1 is strictly forbidden. Thus, any environmental -1 contamination in water sources must be met with immediate damming and drainage into storage tanks of all affected areas. Okay, we have this now in addition, which is that will explain why it's forbidden to experiment with this thing. Here we go. There has been 052 and 051 watched video feeds from a cramped room in the fortress. I am actually super hungry. I want to order food, but I'm going to wait till I'm done reading this. I'm going to message us now. Because then it's guaranteed that it won't arrive while I'm still reading. Yeah, what's up? Okay. Hundreds of scenes of devastation. Giants in the sky, on the earth, in the sea, massive ghostly animals, and not animals sailing across the land. An otherworldly flotilla taking up a tenth of the Atlantic Ocean. Strange, unidentifiable, not quite humanoid armies in a three-way battle. A comet of molten metal hurtling towards Earth. The GOC trying and failing to enact procedure pizzicato, bearing the brunt of an organization-wide psychic attack mid-announcement speech, even some small river god trying to end its local world and causing problems with mass landslides, and hundreds of containment breaches, maybe thousands in less than a day. 052 worried that the foundation would soon come apart at its seams. The leadership was already fracturing. Side directors were at each other's throats, arguing, fighting, and wondering where the hell Overwatch was. Some of the directors and other staff had already disappeared. One of the disappearances in particular worried her, but she couldn't do anything about any of it. The O5s were all isolated, unable to send communication, only receive. Some sort of system-wide attack by an unknown entity. The local tech monkeys were working on it 24/7. 052 was ambivalent about whether she wanted them to succeed, and displayed on the monitoring equipment station further out in the solar system something slowly approached from far away in space. Not something, more than one something, many somethings. 052 looked at 051. He appeared to be sleeping, maybe dead, probably not dead. He often looked like this when he slept. Still, so still. He was old, extremely old. Some people said he was the founder of the foundation, but 052 had never known how seriously to take that. People probably said the same jokes about her after all. She looked almost as old as he did. And hell, considering where she's come from and all she had to do, the only survivor of a broken reality coming into this world where she never truly fit in, always hiding everything from her other self. She chuckled. What a silly time to reminisce. The end of the world was here. All the ends of the world competing. She wished she could do something, anything, but it was all she could do to ignore the compulsion plan in her brain. Goddamned reality benders. Maybe she should have gone to the TOC after all. I wonder what the other O5s are making of this, she said aloud. They're already dead, a voice whispered behind her. A glowing light suffused from the room. The way opened. First came black and purple light, and the bricks in the walls in front of the group folded inward one by one. Sophia Lights resisted the urge to make a joke about Harry Potter. She wasn't sure how the hand members would take her poking fun at the serious business magic. Just like she wasn't sure if they abducted her or if she'd gone with them willingly or something in between. You sure about this? She asked. The last time the Foundation personnel went into the library, none of them came out in one piece. The only survivor lost both his arms. You people came in with bullets and fire, the woman calling herself Ashera said. The library only harms those who seek to harm others, or to damage the library itself, or worst of all, the books. You people tried all three. Well, I certainly don't plan to set anyone on fire today, Sophia said dryly. You sure I won't be attacked anyway? We're sure, the black cat said. The cat could speak. Sophia reminded herself she'd been trying to get used to that for the past few hours. One of the more obviously anomalous hand members she just met. The other being the woman who appeared to be able to control the colors of herself and her surroundings, some relation to 598, she wondered. You're with us now, the cat continued. As long as you keep your word, you'll be safe. Sophia chose to let the comment slide. She supposed it was true, after all, for now. Don't act so worried, the woman with the shifting rainbow skin said. You're going to save the world. Here's how we get started. The motley group walked through the way and entered the wandering library. 051 body rested on the floor at the foot of the chair, slumped where he had fallen. 052 looked up at the harbinger. His form was so bright, so angelic, but she still wasn't fooled. You're not one of 353s, she asked. Of course not, he said. Good, she said. You know, in another future we got to go all together. The golden being stepped towards her, sword in hand. I know. He made the cut quick, rapid, and painless as possible. When she was dead, he closed her eyes and leaned down, passing a kiss on her lips. I'm sorry, Sophie, he said. Interesting. I'm not sure how this is at all connected to the other SCP. But let's see, maybe we can find something else. The fiery red and white angelic host of Yaoi clashed with an almost equally large army on the pass across the Middle East. This army was made up of humanoid soldiers, animals, and more monstrous creatures, and all featureless and black as pitch. Where they walked, blackness flowed across the land. The bushes, the trees, the rivers, and everything that touched is suffocated and died. That's probably it. The creature and the blackness had all come from one place. The ink pen known as, there it is, SCP-505. They were almost a match for the Yari army. Almost. The angels were a true army, not a mass of monsters innumerable with white swords flashed. Black creatures flew into pieces and dissolved. Angels fell with gaping wounds or suffocated covered in ink. But in the end, the winner was clear. The angels were hardly highly developed reality benders, but they shared some of the master's power as they marched. They removed the ink contamination with the master's borrowed power and healed the land. For now, this was the wrong apocalypse. The world was to perish in fire, not in ink. And certainly not before Yahweh gave the final command. They heard the roars of other monsters far off in the distance. Giants strode across the horizon. There was no time to waste. They would soon come into conflict again with the master only knew what. They had expected an army of demons and men, not this. Why had the master not warned them? The ancients marched through the scattering in beings and crested a hill to find their way blocked by a massive mountain range that had not been there before. They had simply not existed 5 minutes before. The mountain in the center of the range was more monolith than mountain and oddly shaped. It almost looked like a hand with an upraised middle finger. As the host of heaven watched in disbelief, giant flaming letters erupted into being across the mountain range. In moments, the letters formed a single sentence burned across the land, a sentence big enough to be visible from space. The sentence read, "Are we cool yet?" Probably not. Alone now, the harbinger let his light dim, let his disguise and power slip away, leaving nothing but the ordinary human being underneath. He could think of himself by his real name now, Troy Lament. He closed his eyes and felt the relief of being able to think that again, to be human. Of course, Troy Lament wasn't his real name either, not really. Troy found and opened the file folder in 051's computer labeled Jeremiah Colton, the access code he already knew, and entered. He read the files for a long time, then he sat staring at the screen for even longer. Then he pulled up another window, identification code required. He typed his name in. Welcome, Jeremiah Colton. You have one new message. Display yes, no. If you are reading this, you know what to do. I'm sorry. We all are. The note was unsigned. Troy hesitated for only a moment before continuing to type. The machine replied, "Does the black moon howl?" He typed in response. When the foundations crumbled, the machine processed for a moment. Activation phrase required. Please speak now. The Lament spoke the words, and only now fully understanding what it means both for him and the future of the foundation. Johnny Mead. The message went. Oh God, I'm so hungry. Went out to every single secure facility association with the foundation, to every terminal, to every member of personnel above level 1. When the administrator read it, she stepped back in her chair. The message was short, to the point, and final. Announcement to all locations. Initiate Genomite protocol. All sites are independent from this point onward. Godspeed. End of Act 1. And I'm not going to read the rest of it, because this is definitely a whole different story. But now it makes sense. It's basically saying, like, there is a world where, like, experimentation with this definitely backfired on them. Addendum 1. Procedures to dealing with -1 contamination in humans. Okay. Almost 2 hours, Jesus. Administration of multiple dose activated charcoal has been shown to slow the progress of SCP-1 contamination in humans, but is unable to halt the process. The only known methods of treatment for -1 contamination in humans are by immediate excision of the affected area or continuous application of ethanol to an affected skin region. Topical ethanol treatment will not prevent the affected individual from transmitting SCP-1 to other surfaces and is thus highly discouraged except in the case of essential personnel, in which case contamination procedures must be observed as in all other sites of secondary -1 contamination. In theory, excision or amputation of affected areas would be gold standard for treatment, but contamination of surgical instruments and personnel remains a problem. Therefore, all cases of -1 contamination in humans other than essential personnel should be dealt with by termination, followed by standard procedure of 4M, that immersion and incineration of the remains. And then 2, SCP-505 retrieval history was acquired by the Foundation from the town of Blank in Oman. When the town in question was quarantined by only common to the reports of black liquid beginning to seep out from the town's post office and causing the deaths of a number of its inhabitants. Fortuitously, the arid and remote location of the incident represented wide-scale environmental contamination of -1. The Foundation retrieved -1 with blank casualties. No other anomalous properties of its town post office of the town itself were detected. It was deemed necessary to terminate blank civilian inhabitants of blank who were deemed likely to be contaminated. The incident was reported as a non-extra-normal chemical spill. Wow, they had to kill in the thousands just to be sure. Damn, I'm not gonna talk much about the SCPs now because I am super hungry. I'm sorry. I should have eaten something big yesterday or today before I did this. But yeah, here we go. Instant growing plants. I hope the last ones are short because I really need to eat. This is safe, and there's actually a video for this. Okay. Let's see what this is. Special containment procedures. SCP-506 grows in a 3 meters squared patch of soil, kept watered and fertilized via an automatic system. The air of the room where SCP-506 is kept must be filtered to prevent release of SCP-506 seeds into environment. Personnel entering the enclosure must wear biohazard suits composed of inorganic materials and must be decontaminated upon leaving the area. Due to the potential dangers associated with cross-contamination, SCP-506 and SCP-124, which I think might be the soil that just grows everything. Yeah, fertile soil. Yeah, I knew it. Not to be stored at the same foundation site under any circumstance. Yeah, of course. You don't want a soil that just grows everything in the matter of a day, and a plant that grows in the matter of a couple seconds to be in the same place. SCP-506 is a genetically engineered variant of zucchini, Cucurbita pepo, created by the Blank Corporation as a hardy and rapid growing food plant. SCP-506 exhibits several undesirable and dangerous qualities. Oh, of course it does. We wouldn't be an SCP Foundation if a fucking cucumber would have some dangerous qualities. SCP-506 will attempt to grow on any organic material, including a living being. Okay. How about you take your cucumber and shove it? Don't shove it in a girl, though. Why did I say that? I'm sorry. The seeds germinate on contact. SCP-506 grows extremely rapidly, reaching full size in 5 minutes or less. Jesus. Due to its rapid growth, SCP-506 drains its growing medium of nutrients at an accelerated rate. Nothing will grow in soil that has harbored SCP-506 plants without extensive nutrient replacement. SCP-506 seeds are much smaller than typical squash seeds and disperse easily in the wind. SCP-506 is incredible as the seeds will deter expunge if any are consumed. To the best of knowledge of the Foundation, SCP-506 has not escaped into the wild, and Blank Corporation has destroyed all samples in their possession. Now there is a video called labeled as a time lapse in case of accidental public release. Basically labeled as a time lapse. So this is basically how it will look in real life, like how fast it grows. And naturally, there's an actual time lapse in the real world, but it's cool that it's a cool idea just to show like this is how fast this SCP can grow. Like imagine like being a farmer, and just watching your plant grow over the days and weeks, right? It's nice to see like soil, and then a couple days later you see like a small little bud, and then a couple of weeks later you see like a stem and leaves and all that. So I can imagine how like amazing that must be, but can you imagine seeing this happening in real life? Just like you just walk and out of the soul just like and you're like, what the SCP-506 is evolving rapidly as indicated by the incidents below. Okay, here we have incident 1 that happened at the 16th of May 2000 blank. SCP-506 plants observed attempting to grow on the walls of the containment facility, although the plants died of malnutrition. Yeah, because the walls don't have nutrients. Testing indicates the latest generation requires 35% fewer nutrients than when originally contained. Research in progress to find materials that do not support SCP-506 growth. And then we have incident 2 that took place at the 1st of September. Dr. K. Blank found dead in the SCP-506 enclosure covered with plant growth. The means by which his suit was compromised is unknown. SCP-506 roots have been found to secrete a powerful anesthetic, explaining why Dr. Clay Blank did not sound the alarm or attempt to escape the area. Researchers must be under video surveillance while working with SCP-506, with another researcher ready to assist in case of accidental infestation. Reclassification as Euclid recommended. Yeah, it's considered safe right now because it's as long as nobody's like gets touched by it. But yeah. It has ways to even get through the biohazard suits. So, that thing is a dangerous piece to work with. Oh boy, please don't make me read more. I'm so goddamn hungry. And I don't really have anything that's filling to eat here. Reluctant Dimension Hopper. I see there is an interview section and then there's this. Oh boy, it's going. Oh boy. Oh no. Oh no, that's a lot to read. You know what? I'm gonna pause here. Like I'm gonna pause the video and I'm gonna eat something, but guys, I know I usually read it in bulk, but I'm gonna read this another day. But it will be in the same video. It will be added together because right now I'm super hungry. Like I need to eat something, and yeah, if I have to read all this as well while waiting for food, I'm not gonna make it. Like I didn't eat much the last 2 days, and yeah, I need to eat something big. So. I see you, well, soon. Well, not even soon, like, literally, it will cut. I will have something else on, probably, and it will be a different day, but it will be the same SCP that we're going to read. So, I'm very sorry about this, but at the end, you won't see a difference, because it will be the same video. So, I'm back. For you guys, nothing happened. It's one cut to the next one, but for me, I sprained my foot. Fun. It's healing up. I can walk again, and I can put pressure on it, but it wasn't fun when it happened. And I was thinking like maybe make like a joke that you made a bad joke at a tomato and it just shattered your foot. But I was like, no, because the pain was real. it hurt. It's better now, but hey. I have an obligation, I have a mission, I have a job to do, which is read SCP-507, which is highly rated. Now that I actually look at this again, damn, those are some 4 digits of numbers. Okay, and I do know that this one is one that will take a little bit of time. Now back to SCP-507, which is safe. SCP-507 allows free roam of the facility, obviously bearing anything that... What was this one called again? Reluctant Dimension Hopper. Okay. Bearing anything that will breach security or safety protocols. Anytime SCP-507 leaves its private quarters, it must be accompanied by an agent, most at this point, to make sure that it does not shift without the facility's knowledge. SCP-507 should not be physically touched if there are if there have been more than 2 weeks since its last shift. So that's probably like how they can tell that he's about to like vanish. I'm trying to find like the right sound effect. That actually the previous one was pretty good. But you understand. The risk inherent is in disobeying this protocol make the action its own punishment should the issue of disciplinary measures ever come up. So it's kind of like Goku's instant transmission when you hold on to him or he holds on to you. You can't go with him. Except in this case, you might not come back. Wherever he shifts to, you might not survive that. When SCP-507 undergoes a shift, faculty will be informed to keep an eye out for its eventual reappearance. It also has a tracking device implanted into it, and a daily signal check should verify whether or not SCP-507 has returned from its trip. If it reappears in or nearby the facility, SCP-507 will return to its quarters on its own. Otherwise, a retrieval team of three plainclothes agents may be sent to provide transportation back. Upon successful return, SCP-507 can be the subject of various physical tests up until 2 weeks after each shift. Okay. So they have a 2 weeks timer to do any physical tests with him, and then afterwards nobody should even get close to him. That's I wonder if he's okay. If let's not say he. Let's say they. I wonder if they're okay when they shift. Like, do they shift? Like, what if they shift into space? Then what? Mars. Then what? Also, do they shift back instantaneously? Or is it one of those like shifts where like they shift back one moment and then back instantaneously, but for them it felt like a certain amount of days that is randomized. It's worth noting that SCP-507 is allowed a computer with an internet connection via proxy, which strictly limits what information can be uploaded and to where. Fair enough. You don't want them to just start having a vlog, like, hey everyone, day 507 here. Hey, that's exactly this. I was coming up with a number, but it's exactly the SCP number that I came up with. Yeah, I've been doing some experiments, after I shift around, and then everybody on the YouTube is like, this guy's crazy. He never showed us that he can shift, but he talks about this kind of stuff, man. And in its room, and may petition to use, meet with, act as a test subject for safe or Euclid SCPs that do not affect mental function negatively or carry an infectious trait. Okay. It's always interesting to see like an SCP that's like allowed to roam and then help out the Foundation. Because it wasn't like the iPods that it was allowed to just roam around, but they are like pets. And some other SCPs are like, yeah, I can help out. It's always interesting when they do. This is a result of SCP-507's persistently clean record, and the implication that if SCP-507 was ever going to be a security leak, it would have used its Fox teleportation powers to do so already. It's also worth considering that SCP-507 is actually below average in most physical traits. That in even worst case scenarios, any SCP agent should be more than capable of carrying out a termination order. So it's a mixture of we trust this guy, and a mixture of like we can fuck him up if he does anything. Which is, you say that, but what if he somehow sneaks behind you, hugs you really tightly, and then teleports you out? I know he's not in control of it from the sound of it, but what if he does that? He's like, you will come with me, and then 10 minutes pass, and he's like, I expected this to work by now. It's like, and the other guy's like, can I shoot you now? Or yeah, go ahead. I guess you can. My teleportation. Oh, it worked. You're fucked now. You can't shoot me when you're underwater. SCP-507 is a Caucasian male. Okay, it's a male. With blonde hair and green eyes, sporting no other outstanding characteristics besides being somewhat overweight and speaking with a vague accent of disputable origin. Although SCP-507 has an already established name due to its unremarkable upbringing, it seems to find entertainment in forcing those it meets to give it a nickname in lieu of divulging this information. Thus, SCP-507 will now respond to the names Tommy, Steve, Brutto, Guy, Houdini, and Grabnog the Destroyer. How old is this guy? Like, Grapnok the Destroyer. That sounds like something a moody teenage kid would come up with. I have angst, mother. Call me Grapnok the Destroyer, okay? Okay, Sam, just come eat your dinner. No, Mom! Not unless you call me Grapnok the Destroyer. You can destroy this dinner or I destroy your ass. That's... because I'm gonna take this belt. Okay, Mom, I'm sorry. SCP-507 was originally recalled from the blank asylum when standard surveillance following repeated successful escape attempts brought its abilities to light. All records of this incident were confiscated and SCP-507 was taken into custody under the pretense of moving it to a more secure facility. The original theory was that SCP-507 possessed some form of teleportation ability, as it would suddenly disappear and eventually reappear in a different location. Okay, so it's a different location. It's not back and forth. Well, it could be back and forth. It could be teleport from one location to the other one and teleport back sooner or later. But it did say that it seems to be out of control where he ends up. If he ends up back there, that's fine. But if he doesn't, they have to pick him up. Subsequent interviews with the subject did verify that its ability could be used in such manner, but that it was merely a side effect for its main affliction. Oh, it has a main affliction. SCP-507 holds that during its period of disappearance, it is actually displaced into a random alternate reality. Okay. The landscape generally stays the same, but the inhabitants and climate of the parallel world often do not. SCP-507 also insists that it has no control over the time and duration of the shifts. This has more or less been confirmed by the subject being known to displace at inconvenient times, such as mid-sentence while sleeping, or even while using on-site public facilities. Oh, that must suck. Can you imagine being in the bathroom, just on the toilet, just like, okay, let me just squeeze one out, and then next thing you're like, yeah. And you're just in the middle of a street in a different reality. You're like, oh no. I didn't bring toilet paper. If SCP-507 moves about in the alternate world, the eventual shift back will then place it at the corresponding area in our reality. Okay. So if he stays still, if he can at all stay still, then he will come back to the same spot where he left. A sample list of SCP-507's description of alternate realities can be found in document 50700. Sorry, my leg's itchy. It's also the one leg where my foot is sprained. Mentally, SCP-507 shows no large deviations from the psychological profile for a normal person. It has confessed to have always had a great interest in the paranormal and mythological, which has directly led to its eventual permission to interact with relatively harmless SCPs. SCP-507 especially enjoys meeting with other sentient SCPs, other ones going so far as to request a small vacation to visit SCP-082. That one was Fernand. Oh, not Fernand. Not him. The request was eventually granted after persistent pleading from SCP-507, and the meeting was thankfully uneventful. Yeah, you could have died, bro. He could have stomped on you. He could have killed you. He could have used your head for badminton, anything like that. That would have been not fun at all. But here's the document that they told about the interviews and tests. A sample list of SCP-507 supposed extra-dimensional travels, along with any demands made by it after returning. Subject arrived in complete darkness, leading it to assume that the current location was indoors or subterranean. After fumbling about for a possible way out, subject heard a sound akin to muted breathing nearby. Subject then decided to curl up in the nearest corner and wait it out, instead of risking a blind confrontation with an unknown creature. Yeah, that must be worrisome if you teleport to some place, it's purely dark, and all you hear is and you're like, how about I do not move at all? I'd rather wait here and starve to death until my teleportation works again than walk out there and get absolutely mutilated by whatever is out there. Subject appeared in a replica of the facility, although apparently fallen into disuse. Further exploration led to the discovery of various corpses strewn about the area, all heavily decayed and covered in an odd type of mold. Upon nothing that the corpses seemed to rhythmically expand and contract as if still breathing. Subject attempted to leave the facility. This idea was quickly discovered when it opened an exit and found that the outside of the door was apparently covered with the same odd growth. Request the standard flashlight is now always carries on its person. I completely forgot to read that. So he now has a flashlight always by his side. Always one of these bad boys. Either you have that or you have this. Yes. And the good thing is there's 2 different types of magnets. So you can attach it to anything you want. It's super strong, super easy to. You can literally just put it at a door, light the front part up, and then walk inside a room if you don't want, and if it lights up the whole room enough. Or you can have the front part to just like scout around. It's really cool. I love that flashlight. Second request is heavy dose of voriconazole, and a fungal expert to help ascertain the nature of the mold. No exact match of the described mold was found, but it was noted to share with many attributes with certain types of cordyceps fungi. See addendum. 2. Upon reappearing, subject was reported to mother so many spiders. Subject refused to elaborate. Okay. Request a handheld firearm of any type. Request was granted under the stipulation that said firearm is specifically built to only use rubber bullets. Okay. He accidentally teleported into Harry Potter 2 right in the forest. So the spider is just like, hey, we got ourselves a new friend here. How about we mangiare? Subject once again appeared in a pitch black location with breathing nearby. Upon turning on its flashlight, subject was surprised by a man wearing a black business suit and sunglasses with an impossibly wide smile. Said smiling man was apparently leaning in toward SCP-507 when he turned on the light. The end was hoping that their face were almost touching. Smile man then remarked, "Back so soon," before subject switched the light off again, discussed all around in the fire and the general vicinity of the man, and once more curled up into the nearest corner until shifted back into our reality. Request none. Dude, that must be so creepy. That must be so creepy. Oh my god. I mean, with an impossibly wide smile. So it's like a smile that goes like beyond. Like, you know, like this. Yeah, you smile like that. Yeah. But this is like up here or something like that. You know, like you're like, And he just leans in just like this, like, hey. I'll be like, no, thank you. Also, is that smiling man the one that breathed? Is that when he heard the breathing? Was it just a smiling man just being this close, breathing down his fucking face? Just like. No, thank you. I am good. I am more than good. Those with level 2 security clearance may read a full list by accessing document 3B. And that's what we have right here. And that's the long ass list that I saw. So, get yourself some popcorn, people. Get yourself something to eat and drink. Pause the video here, go to the bathroom or something like that, because this is going to be a while. Forward below is an archive of all document shifts undergone by SCP-507. Each of these entries is presented with the contents in the following order: universe designation, retrieval, used for the documentation of any complications or anomalies in the recovery of the SCP-507 post-shift. Description. Oh, somebody's texting me. Description of reality and description of any after effects caused by visiting said reality. Requests, listing of any special requests made by 507 upon return, or for nothing, any souvenirs retrieved from the shift. I'm actually kind of excited. I love when SCPs go deep into like, this is what happens with the SCPs, or this is the experiments that we've done. I love stuff like that. I understand not every SCP can or should be like that, but I do love stuff like this, even though it's going to take a while. Like the vending machine or the coffee machine. That was also like one I was like, that's going to be cool to read what they tried out. Okay. Nah, my lips. For ease of reference, this is a list of equipment granted by SCP-507 thus far. Handgun, low with rubber bullets, only one magazine which is carried in the gun. Knife with sheath and belt. Tank of air. High intensity flashlight. 1 week of vegetation ration packs. Waterproof set of binoculars. Tracking color and camera. Okay. Good. He has some vegetation ration packs. So basically like just like vegetables, or am I misunderstanding that? But okay, here we go. I'm not gonna say all these numbers. You guys can. You know what? Fuck it. 1B755E728. Retrieval uneventful. Description: subject arrived in a desert environment and wandered around for roughly an hour before encountering another human. Said human was wearing a tan leather overcoat and was described as completely unshaven. Man was extremely surprised to find the subject and demanded by the subject follow him in order to lead it back to food and shelter. Subject originally began to follow the man, but intentionally lost contact with him upon noticing that his leather coat contained no seams or stitching. Okay. That. Yeah. Good way to realize. I mean, it got something. It skinned something, and that coat. If it's a coat that just goes naturally over him, that might have been a human body, human skin. At least our subject, even though he's like below average physique wise, at least he's smart. Can you imagine can you imagine just being teleported in the middle of a desert and you wander and you just happen to bump into another human being and he's like, sometimes I do wonder if I should. By the way, guys, tell me if I should take my glasses off because of the reflection, if it annoys you guys, because if it does annoy you, then I won't read with the glasses. It's blue light glasses, so it would be good if I did have it on. But if it annoys you, just give me a heads up. But yeah, you just wander, and then you meet somebody, and they're like, yeah, let me bring you to like shelter and food, and you're like, oh, thank God, food sounds great right about now. But then you realize this. Also, how did he get away? He says, but intentionally lost contact with him upon noticing. Like, did he just like quietly snuck away? Which I guess you can. Sand doesn't really make that much noise. You can also be like it could be nighttime, and he's like, oh, I'm going to sleep, and you wait until he actually falls asleep, and then you just fucking book it. Okay, 9E266V7HG. Uneventful. Description: subject arrived in a forest habitat with no signs of previous or current industrialization. No further anomalies were perceptible until the subject grew hungry, at which point it discovered that harvesting or eating the plant life would cause them to emit telepathic scream. Oh. Subject abstained from eating for the first day as a result, but became hungry enough on the second day onward to consume the floor in spite of the screams. Testing has shown no biological change in the subject from this, but subject repeated affirms that it felt horrible for doing so. Request non-specifically, but subject adopted gelatin and pudding-based diet for 2.5 weeks after returning from this shift. Basically, a world where vegetarians would hate. The vegans and vegetarians would hate being that world. Can you imagine? You're in a world where there's like just veggies, and you're like, okay, well, time to make yourself a salad. You take out the bowl of salad out of the ground. It's just, and you're like, whoa, what the fuck? Oh, you cut a carrot, just and you're like, we can't eat anything. Is that a moment where vegetarians would consider like, yeah, let's eat an animal because we have to eat something, but we can't eat veggies because they literally are yelling in pain? Like, would any vegetarians who watch this, would you start eating an animal if your veggies would be screaming in pain every time you cut them, grab them, eat them, anything? Or would you just close your eyes and through, like, Augen zu und durch, as we say in German, just like ignore it and just through pure willpower, just go through it and eat it, and then after a while you get used to it? Like, honestly, I want to know J75R63 3TF, uneventful. Subject arrived in a dimension with flipped genders. No notable differences besides this were discovered, although subject found issue with the fact that its female counterpart looks pretty much the same as the standard version. Okay. And now 00000 invalid. Via tracking device, plainclothes agent found subject sitting in an alleyway at blank blank. Okay, so this time. Subject was logically unspots upon retrieval and remained so until the stand questioning phase. When asked where it went to shift, subject answered, "No, I think I missed it this time." Subject experienced minor motor skill impairment and decreased activity levels for roughly a month after this shift. A wristwatch which makes an audible tick as the second hand moves approved. I wonder what he means with "I missed it this time." Like he wasn't paying attention? Like, what does it mean? Okay. J7Q53Y8ST. Subject was found in its quarters, sprawled on the floor, attempting to chew through the sleeves of a straitjacket it was wearing. The jacket leg restraints and the loss of motor skills still present from the last shift led to the subject being unable to stand up or open the door to find assistance. Subject shifted while sleeping and awoke strained and lying in a hospital-grade bed. A nurse informed the subject that he was still a patient at the blank blank asylum, was currently suffering from advanced stages of dementia. Subject then was sedated and spent the rest of his shift alternating between semi-consciousness and total unconsciousness. Ooh, so a reality where he never left the asylum. Ooh, okay. Man, this is rough. This is brutal, the things he has to go through. And this is like almost on this is like a monthly basis too. Jesus. 9E266V7HG2. Retrieval uneventful. Subject once again arrived in the forest habitat from some previous ones. This is the second. Oh yeah, because it has a 2. This is the second time he landed there. The floor seemed to have remembered the subject's last visit though, and they reacted by screaming for its entire 4-day shift. Request a hug approved. Oh no! Oh no! You know what? Which one? Which number was it again? From 5? Was it from 5? The luckiest man in the world and reluctant dimension hopper are the 2 SCPs that I feel so bad for. They both have horrible lives. I'm so sorry you gotta go through this. 6K321B I0S. Data expunged on the direct order of the O5 Council Level 5 clearance required. Ooh. Did he take something with him by accident? BN2 AL6 CTE. So those basically are the coordination of each reality, I guess. I'm not sure what like each of the numbers specifically mean. Uneventful description. Subject arrived in a derelict metropolitan area. Subject was unable to locate any other humans, but noted an overabundance of cats in every area it visited. Said felines seemed to no different from normal house cats, though, and subject spent most of its shifts petting any who came near. During the standard examination procedures after retrieval, trace amounts of Toxoplasma gondii variant were discovered on the subject's clothing, as well as larger amounts on its shoes. Further testing showed that the subject had not yet been infected with the Toxoplasmosis variant, most likely attributed to the short time frame of the shift not allowing the subject to grow hungry and seek out for food. All clothing and belongings that were on subject person during this shift were incinerated, and the subject forced to undergo a special decontamination procedure in order to prevent any possibility of contagion. Wait, so what is that? I need to check it. I need to look it up. A pair of rubber gloves denied on the basis that hand protection would not have protected the subject from infection in any way. So Toxoplasma gondii. Is an obligate intercellular parasitic protozoan. Oh my god. It causes the infection disease Toxoplasmosis found worldwide. Capable of infecting virtually all warm-blooded animals, but subject to medical. Okay. Is a parasitic disease caused by infection with toxoplasmosis usually causes not obvious symptoms in adults. Occasionally, people may have a few weeks or months of mild flu-like illness such as muscle aches and tender lymph notes in a small number of people, eye probably develop in those with a weak immune system. Severe symptoms such as seizures and poor coordination may occur. If a woman becomes infected during pregnancy, a condition known as congenital toxoplasmosis may affect the child. Issues spread by okay, and he had that, and it was a world filled with cats, so probably every single cat there has. 12528P. Oh, that's a third time? Really? Via tracking device, subject was attempting to return on its own, but was making less progress than usual due to the discomfort of doing so. Subject once again arrived in a pitch black area. Oh no. No, not the smile, man. Not the smile. Not the smile, man. Not the smile, man. Please. Please, anybody anything but the smile, man. Subject decided to seek an exit this time via blind wandering. Subject eventually found itself at the mouth of a corridor with what appeared to be a light source at the end. Subject began to run towards the light upon noticing this. As it grew closer, the light suddenly grew in intensity and the subject was exposed to searing pain. Subject passed out at this point and only awoke after it had shifted back. Examination upon retrieval revealed that the subject epidermis had been cleanly stripped down to the stratum granulosum in all areas upon the sunlight and down to the stratum lucidum in all areas covered by clothing. Request known by the subject reappeared wearing a pair of large, heavily tinted sunglasses. The subject did not notice that it was wearing these until they were pointed out, and supposed that they were probably why its eyes did not undergo the same process as its skin. At least the smile man didn't show up. 7F2 WA39193. Uneventful. Subject arrived in an urban area with no major changes as far as it could tell. Subject used the public computers of a library to search for differences between the mentioned hours, eventually finding that Abraham Lincoln was assassinated by his vice president in order to claim his position. This ultimately led to the presidency becoming a tribe leader-like position where the current holder is legally allowed to be challenged and overthrown by other suitable candidates. Subject noted with great surprise that this change did not do much to alter the most major presidents taking office. Many minor and or detrimental presidencies tended to end via bullet wounds, often in unlikely locals or from improbable angles, which deterred most from attempting coups at all. Requests none. Man, we're still at the very beginning. I'm going to ignore these numbers now. I'm just going to start reading. I'm just going to pay attention if it has a 2 or 3 or 1. Uneventful. The subject arrived at the mouth of a cave with intense heat. The subject walked outside the cave for further investigation and found that the area around it was a wasteland. Most of the heat appeared to emanate from 2 suns in the sky. The subject could not discern whether they were extremely large or extremely close to the planet. Upon further examination, the suns blinked and turned away, and the heat subsided. The subject spent the rest of the shift within the cave. Can you imagine looking at the sun and it's just like an eye? Oh my god. Creepy. Subject found the cafeteria masticating on what appeared to be redacted. Upon containment of redacted, subject uttered the words more before losing consciousness. Subject regained consciousness 2 hours later, expressing a strong desire for pudding. When questioned, subject claimed to see the biggest amount of pudding ever. When questioned as to why it was masticating on redacted upon arrival, subject claimed to be eating a glob of pudding at the time. Subject reported seeing redacted rolling around the hallways. Hallucinations passed within 24 hours. Pudding request granted. Wow. So whatever was in that other world definitely made him see things and made him hungry at the same time. Retrieval subject found in the service tunnel 6R3BK without original equipment. Oh no. Subject was wearing a simple uniform with a similar design to the current Foundation D-Class uniform. Subject shifted while dining in the cafeteria. Destination dimension had an analog to the Foundation in the same location. Although internal layout had significant differences, security responded to subject as an intruder and detained it immediately. During this process, the subject was imprisoned and stripped of all equipment, including the tracking device. For the remainder of the shift, subject underwent a repeated questioning for the Foundation analog refused to accept subject explanation of dimension hopping. Information gleaned from post-shift debriefing indicates that has a Foundation analog in the Society for Containment of the Paranormal. This analog has a strong British influence and is opposed by the covert occult group and Church of the Mending God. Further details remain unclear as the Society refused to answer the subject's questions and only slipped details by assuming it knew them already. Replacement equipment Request granted, of course. I mean, you can't just let him stay. You can't just let him stay like that. Subject was found by the cafeteria kitchen staff outside, blank, drenched, covered in mud, and suffering from severe hypothermia. So, ooh, shit. Subject arrived in a large field during a rainstorm. Subject attempted to find shelter from the rain, but found none. Remaining in the rain for the entire shift, after an unknown length of time, the subject reported seeing entities in the distance. Although the heavy rain obscured the subject from obtaining a detailed report of their appearances, the subject described them as being vaguely humanoid in shape. The entities began to slowly move towards the subject from all directions. Near the end of the shift, the subject reported hearing labored breathing from the nearest entities, a set of warm clothing. Oh my god. Can he not just teleport to, like, I don't know, a place where everybody treats him like a king just once? Why does he have to teleport to all these creepy places? Uneventful. Subject arrives in mid-air. Falling from an outdoor environment into a subterranean body of water at the bottom of a large cavern. Though admittedly experiencing a strong surge of adrenaline from this event, subject reported swimming a long way before reaching the land. Subsequent observation revealed a giant hole in the ceiling of the cavern, through which subject had apparently fallen. Also reported were archways to other large caverns, most with shafts of sunlight visible, indicating other surfaces collapses. Regular vertical grooves in the walls indicate possible excavation, despite the cavern's immense size. No other sign of life was observed. Before returning, subject realized that the possibility of shifting back to our reality so far on the ground might cause it to be displaced in solid rock, and spent its remaining time frantically researching for a way back to the surface. When subject succeeded, it discovered that the sinkholes were much more widespread than what had been visibly from below ground. Diving lessons denied. Why not? Like, I mean, he probably needs that really badly right now. Let me just check the message I got. Via tracking device, the length of time subject was absent from reality was notable, but being roughly 3 months in there. Ooh, no. However, during this time, it made several notable discoveries, including several SCPs uncontained by our reality's SCP Foundation, but contained by Universe, this one equivalent. These SCPs have now been contained. That's some good information. Through this 3 months time frame, the subject managed to become a member of the SCP Foundation equivalent, working its way up the ranks far faster than would have been anticipated, assuming it had been made a member of Foundation personnel on the same day. At the time of his return, he was apparently in the field working to contain equivalent of SCP blank. Curiously, our Foundation had sent out a task force for precisely the same reason on the same day. Further links between Universe and our reality have been investigated. To be made a member of site personnel denied. Oh, come on. He worked so hard on the other one. He just they trust him. Well, why can't you trust him? Just promote him. He deserves it. Subject retrieved via implanted tracker. Medevac required to side blank. Subject was immobile upon retrieval due to the greatly increased body mass measured at blank kilo. That's a Swedish. No, he weighs more than 100. Lead researchers blank approved emergency use of SCP-394, which I think, the ear candles, like where you put it in and you lose weight, I believe. To keep it alive in order to obtain a report. Upon recovery, subject report being surrounded by really expletive big creatures resembling blank. They quickly trapped him in a transparent container. It was then transported into unknown distance to a shiny surface, whereupon the creatures began to observe him. After approximately 1 day, tubes were inserted into data expunge unknown fluids, which was not found upon examination. Subject reported that the tubes were removed shortly before the shift and observed redacted approaching it, presumably for the purpose of extraction. Services of personal trainer Dr. Blank has agreed to let the subject borrow her workout tape. Subject now displays a strong aversion to pudding. But yeah, you gotta beef yourself up a little bit, boy. Like, you gotta have some self-defense, dude. Like, a gun and all is good and all, but you also need to like be able to have some martial arts skills if you want to survive in any of these worlds. The subject was found hanging from its ankles in a tree on site. Subject was partially encased in an insulated reflective titanium armor upon retrieval. The subject described the world as it had been, world had arrived in a, yeah. The subject described the world it had arrived in as extra shiny and stated that it was apprehended by law enforcement officers upon arrival. After being apprehended, the subject was transported to a nearby manufacturing facility and placed upside down on an assembly line where a series of metal sheets were shaped and cut to fit its body. It briefly had time to ask for clarification and was informed that the radiation from the sun was extremely dangerous and titanium reflective suits were required by law so to prevent thermal radiation damages to any person or structure. Sunscreen and eye exam granted. Damn. Okay. Via tracking device, subject. Oh god, there's more. I just saw the open list of results. Subject was found. We're not even halfway through yet. Was found inside a padlocked metal shed behind an abandoned house on the outskirts of blank blank. Subject arrived in a small room housing several dried corpses. Besides said corpses, the room was mostly bare. The only thing subject noted was a single panelless window and a light fixture on the ceiling which was occasionally flickered. Subject attempted to rise to his feet but had difficulty doing so due to the repeated and unpredictable surges of motion. Subject eventually made its way to the window, at which point it discovered that its room was actually a container suspended in mid-air by a large chain. Subject watched as a similar container passed by him, and as it passed by others via a complex web of rails above it, which the chains were attached to. Subject could see nothing besides this but darkness in all directions. Subject then tried to wait out its time in this dimension by falling asleep, but found it difficult due to the nearly discovered quality of the corpses. During moments of darkness caused by flickering, the corpses rearranged themselves into poses which would be logical for living people during the particular moment. If the subject was looking out the window, the corpses should be crowded around him in an attempt to get a better view. If the subject was sitting, they would also be seated in a pattern to form a full circle. If the subject attempted to reach the light fixture, they would act as a support, seem to be in the process of pushing him upwards, etc. Requests none. Yeah. I mean, that doesn't seem to do anything bad to him, but the idea that a bunch of corpses just move with you all the time. Subject arrived in a crowded casino-like area. Subject noted that the only type of machine available was something similar to slots, but they apparently required no money to play and gave out nothing upon a win. Upon actually sitting down in front of one and trying it, the subject discovered that the machine dispensed a small slip of paper with writing on it upon every pull in the lever and spin of the symbols it displayed. Subject could discern no real pattern to what symbol would produce what type of note, but wrote down a list of its attempts and what is received from each just in case. So, jewel, crescent, claw. If given a slice of death, could you tell how large it was? Hammer, crescent, crescent. A poor base leads to rushed patch jobs. Crescent, hammer, jewel. Deja vu. Claw, circle, hammer. There are things worse than death. For one, not dying. Crescent, hammer, crescent. There will always be someone to look after you. Crescent, jewel, crescent. They're not that jolly. It's just stuck that way. Hammer, crescent, hammer. There will always be something to look after. Claw, claw, claw. The future is looking bright. Nothing too out of the ordinary. Let me just answer this. Alright. Subject appeared in a wide corridor with steel doors lining both walls. Each door had a keypad, a small speaker system, and a clipboard containing forms written in undecipherable characters. As the subject approached one door to examine said clipboard, the door's attached speaker turned on and began to address it. Subject was informed that the voice belonged to the person locked behind that specific door and that he was wrongfully imprisoned and left to die. The prisoner then pleaded with the subject to release him from his cell. Subject jokingly replied that he would free the prisoner if he promised not to stab the subject upon release. There was roughly a 7-second pause before the prisoner asked what stabbing was. After a moment of deliberation, the subject denied defined stabbing as putting a hole in someone. Another pause followed. The prisoner eventually affirmed that he could not stab the subject because all of his objects were very blunt. The subject did not open the door or any of the others. That doesn't help your point, your case. Yeah, no, I can't stab you, but I can bludgeon you to death. You're tracking the device. Subject was in a holding cell of the blank police station under the charges of public indecency. Extraction was successful and made with no complication. Subject arrived in an area apparently undergoing a large snowstorm. Subject attempted to find shelter but could not find its way in the storm and had almost succumbed to the exposure by the time it was located and pulled into a cave by a man covered in protective furs. The man helped the subject out of its wet clothing. Although he did not have an extra set of garments, he let the subject do an underground hot spring in his cave was connected to. When the man was sure that the subject was regaining his strength, he removed its furs and attended the spring as well. The subject was extremely surprised to discover that the man was a second SCP-507. Subject noticed no obvious physical difference between itself and the double, although the alternate 507 had a pattern of tribal scarring across his torso as well as the bases of some of his limbs. Subject and the double remained in the cave and conversed with each other until the subject shift ended. Okay. Subject drew a replica of the alternate 507 scars from memory and asked for any information on possible cultural or symbolic meaning behind the patterns. None have been found so far. That must be wild, though. Wait. Do you think that maybe the guy in the desert that had the leather coat, do you think that might be another version of him as well? Although I think he would have been able to tell. If he can tell. Well, in this case, 507, the alternate 507 looks exactly like him, just with scarring. So maybe the other guy was just some random ass dude. We are tracking the device. Subject recovered in a cornfield in blank with unidentified brown liquid splattered on its cheek. A human heart with the words "I need you" written with the same liquid was discovered in the subject's hand. The subject claimed that the said object was not in its possession during the shift and does not know how it came into its possession. Researchers are attempting to identify the liquid. Subject arrived in pitch black darkness with with the sound of crying nearby. Upon activation, its flashlight subject discovered a smiling man from previous shifts leaning towards him. Brown liquid leaked from around its sunglasses. The smiling man pushed its face close to the subject and uttered the phrase, "Why did you do this?" Smiling man then wiped off a portion of the brown liquid from its eyes with its hand and began caressing the subject's cheek with it. The subject forcefully pushed Smiling Man away. Subject observed that the Smiling Man business suit contained several holes with brown liquid trailing down from them. That's from the last time when he shot him. Subject drew its firearm and pulled the trigger. However, for unknown reason, the pistol did not fire. Smiling Man began slowly walking towards the subject. Subject ran for approximately 10 minutes and spent the rest of the shift huddled in a corner. A more reliable pistol denied as the cause of the error is unknown. So, but wouldn't that, why didn't they show here number 3 or something? Because that's the 3rd time. Or even 4th time, isn't it? One of the ones where he meets him. No, this is the 3rd time. Yeah. This is a 3rd one. Okay, we are tracking the device. Subject was discovered 7 kilometers, 4.3 miles northeast of the facility. Subject shifted while reading in its quarters. Subject found itself returned to the forest habitat containing telepathic trees. Oh god, not again. The trees remained silent upon its entry to the environment. The subject admitted that despite its previous experience with the environment, it was curious about the absence of any human habitation. The subject propelled itself to the highest ground it could find in order to see over the tree canopy. The subject found a clearing on the top of the hill. Subject reported seeing a huge semi-translucent blue dome covering the entire forest. The tree canopy extended out to the edge of the dome with foliage so thick that looking up and through it was unfeasible. Subject reported itself to see the dome slightly off-center, suggesting it was not underneath the direct middle. Okay, none. So if he gets back there again, I wonder if he can figure out why there's a dome. I wonder if this is like some sort of GMO experiment that just went horribly wrong. Subject was found prone and unresponsive in its quarters. Subject was bleeding significantly. Several deep gashes were discovered in the left side of the subject, just under the armpit. The claw marks extended to the bottom of the rib cage. Subject received traditional first aid and was committed to the on-site infirmary. The subject woke up on a snow-covered plain. Subject did not have its backpack on hand at the time of the shift, having been asleep. All that went with it was its bed sheets and pajamas. Subject reports having seen a TV show of how to survive in a cold environment before the shift. It attempted to build a crude snow cave using its hands when it was interrupted by a large white bear. This is the extent of its recollection. A proper weapon, granted, losing subject to a non-anomalous polar bear would be a waste of foundation, so resources, and an embarrassment. Subject shall receive a knife, sheath, and belt, and it's required to keep those items on its person at all times, so even when you're asleep. Okay. Now we reached the halfway. This SCP alone is gonna be like 2 hours long. Recontained in the kitchen, missing left hand, using expletives in an uncontrolled fashion. The subject was returned to the infirmary. Oh no, what? Like the left hand's completely gone? The subject transitioned into a dimension very similar to our own at first glance. The subject was apprehended by the Foundation personnel in the infirmary and questioned about his small canines. The subject admitted to not knowing what that meant, but quickly worked it out after his interview, opened his mouth and pointed it to a set of large fangs located outside of the incisors. Are we talking about vampires? The interviewers also commented on the subject's roundish boyish shape, which was considered unusual and fascinating in this dimension. Despite these differences, the subject described the creatures who were interviewed it as kind. Okay. They proceeded to bring the subject a large amount of food. The subject noted a distinct lack of anything green. The meal offered to him when the latter told to elaborate by Foundation personnel, he stated it was all meat. After eating the meal, 2 of the creatures containing the subject in the equivalent of the infirmary escorted him into a small room nearby containing a locket hanging on the opposite wall. They told the subject to remove its clothes and stand in front of the locket. After the subject had done and ordered, they opened the locket and exposed it to a green orb for approximately 8 minutes. The subject noted that the lack of any scar tissue on his left side and strong feelings of general well-being. The next day, a creature came to him and asked for a small portion of his skin and musculature in order to study genetic differences to this. To this, the subject responded with, "Only if you provide me with an delicious meal." The creature was visibly excited by this outcome. A small biopsy was conducted on the subject's upper right thigh. The subject described this experience as painful but totally worth it. A huge amount of unspecified meat was delivered to the subject upon completion of the biopsy. The subject was then released to explore the facility. For the next month and a half, the creatures continued to supply the subject with mounds of meat and engage in amiable conversation. The subject acquired 14 kilograms of fat during this time. On the 16th of April 2015, the subject was called to the kitchen equivalent. It was then put on a chopping block on it, and its left hand was removed. A replacement hand. Why? Why? It all went so nice. It was like, God, these are weird creatures. Like, we are just eating meat. And next thing you know, hey, come with us. You've been so helpful with us. Like, really. It's been nice. It's like, yeah, I really enjoyed. You have some delicious meals out here. Like, yeah, can we see your hand? Which one? The right or the left? Doesn't matter which one. Just give me one hand. Okay, here, no problem. Oh! Why? Retrieval uneventful. Okay. The subject arrived in a large, opaque dome filled with plants. Without any signs of human habitation, the subject stated that walk was difficult and uncomfortable. Upon further investigation, the subject found a window displaying what was described as pitch black with earth on the horizon. Several minutes later, a tall humanoid encountered the subject inquiring about his comparative short stature. The subject replied, asking where he was. The human stated that they were in base 12 oxygen and vegetable ring. The subject asked what Earth was doing in the sky. Humanoid appeared puzzled and responded, "That is the moon." Gesturing to Earth, a short argument ensued and the human departed. The subject noted that after the Earth set, a rocky gray landscape became visible, becoming identifiable as the lunar surface after an hour or so. Subject attempted to explore more of his surroundings, but shifted back to our reality shortly after setting out. One camera denied. But he already has a camera. A bird outside just agreed with me. The bird was like, "What the? That's some bullshit. You won't give him a camera." Well, that is very fascinating imagery, though. Can you imagine being on the? I guess he was on the moon, and the Earth is up there. That would be interesting to see. Sorry, my lips are really acting up. Subject shifted while attempting to fall asleep. Subject arrived in a large body of fresh water. Subject swam upwards an estimated 35 meters before reaching the surface of the water and beginning to tread. Subject noticed several dark shapes moving in the water beneath it and bright lights in the distance, but did not attempt to approach either. Subject reported found breathing extremely difficult. Subsequent physical tests indicated that the subject had ingested substantial amounts of methane during the shift. A tank of breathing gas as part of its equipment approved. That's where you finally get the tank from, I guess. Subject was found in the location in which he had left, curled up and crying violently. Subject screamed, "Why did I have to go?" when an attempt was made to interact with it, and suffered from severe depression for several days thereafter. Agents described a beautiful smell coming from it. A beautiful smell? First of all, how... Like, I understand that a smell can smell good. It can smell delicious. It can smell sweet. But beautiful? What smell would you guys consider beautiful? I'm trying to think of like an equivalent of that. Like, you know what? Baked goods. That's a beautiful smell. Subject landed in a place that could only describe as impossibly beautiful. Subject. Probably why did I have to go? As in, like, why did I have to leave? Subject said that it was like the best part of every place all put together, and that the beauty was so overwhelming that the subject had no desire to move. When it began to become thirsty and hungry, plants apparently extended vines and shot a liquid into his mouth, which described as the best anything I have ever drunk ever, sweet and rich, and everything else. For once, he actually got a place he could have enjoyed, but now he hates being back here. After roughly 1 day, subject having never looked at his watch during this time, had no clear knowledge of the duration. A human or female close to subject's age unexpectedly encountered subject as she walked over a hill. Subject claimed that they had a long conversation despite not speaking the same language, and was unable to explain how it was possible or the form the communication had taken. Subject claimed that he understood the answers to his questions about her and her location, but was unable to articulate them. Subject described her with, "I know I'm sounding repetitive here, but she was the most amazing person I ever met." With some reluctance, subject stated that they had been about to kiss when the shift ended. Aww, that is cruel. I actually was thinking, like, what if there's like a world where he actually finds a woman he loves? Subject then had to be prevented from committing suicide. Tests after successful psychiatric treatment indicated subject was considerably more physically fit and had gained roughly 8 IQ points despite having done no significant exercise during the shift. Various foods, beverages, and pictures of women widely regarded as very physically attractive. The subject considered all granted requests unsatisfactory, making statements such as, "It's not the same," and "No, not like that." The subject then requested a way to stay in the universe permanently after having arrived there, was reminded that it was impossible. Like, if he gets a way to go back there again, though, that would be nice for him. I mean, he got to the fucking plant zone and Smile Man zone 3 times. Why not let him go to that one at least a couple times as well? That lady must be confused as well. They were about to kiss and he just vanished. Subject returned malnourished and suffering from the effects of an unknown toxic substance from which it soon recovered. Later analysis showed the substance had to be a venom containing a high level of silicon. A small silicon-based crystalline creature was hanging from the subject's finger when the subject returned. This specimen subsequently died of unknown causes, possibly starvation. Good, because the last thing you want is some sort of fucking virus or parasitic being from a different world being brought to this world and spread. Subject shifted to a dimension which primarily contained crystals of varying sizes and hues. The sun was described by the subject as smaller and bluer than ours. The ground was covered in sand, also of various dull colors. The subject noted that many of the large crystals were moving slowly and appeared to be alive. It also saw smaller creatures which scuttled around quite rapidly and seemed to be composed of crystals. The subject spent some time searching for water which it found and noted that there seemed to be considerably more of the smaller crystalline animals near the water. Shortly before the subject returned, it was attacked by one small creature. The subject described both the large and small creatures as both looking and behaving similarly to crustaceans. Yeah, it's about to like in my head. I actually put the idea of like crabs or shrimps moving around. Food and water that doesn't taste like sand. Granted. Subject was found in sector blank blank, a highly restricted area. Subject was swiftly removed. Subject shifted to a dimension with a world covered in salt water. With a world covered, like my god, world covered in salt water. Subject then equipped its scuba gear and decided to see what was below the water. Subject descended for approximately 3 minutes and believed it had traveled 50 meters down before seeing the ocean floor. The floor was covered with abandoned buildings and rubble, corroded and covered with aquarius plant life. Several skeletons could be seen. Subject had searched the underwater city for 3 minutes when it spotted three black fish-like creatures moving towards it. Subject drew his knife and fired before shifting back into our dimension. A pair of waterproof binoculars approved. That's how I got the binoculars. Okay. So here we see all the stuff that he is now his standard. So the camera was at first denied though, so he's going to eventually get a camera. Subject appeared to be in the bedroom of a suburban home and was greeted by several people of varying age and race. They welcomed him to the home and showed him around the building. Subject noted an abundance of windows in the building. Upon looking outside, subject noticed that the house was encased in a large glass dome and was being viewed by several cameras. And the residents explained that they were part of a zoo-like enclosure. And he said of various ages and race. This could be a world where any different race got captured. Any different race from except maybe one. And even though it's easy to say probably the whites, because that would be the case in our world, but it could also be that the whites are one of the races that were captured in there. And it's a different race outside. Or it's a whole different race that we don't even know about, It could be like a new invented race that just watches them. SCP-507 was found in Dr. King's office. Subject appeared in what seemed to be an endless forest of apple trees. It was inhabited by a race of humanoids, all of whom appeared identical to Dr. King. The entity seemed to recognize SCP-507 and gave him a message to pass on to Dr. King. Come home, last child. We have sent you this silence countless times, yet still you do not come. Do you not remember the holy orchid of your birth, the wind through the trees, the crystal light of her holy fruit? Please come home. We miss you. To pass the message on to Dr. King, denied for the safety of SCP-507. Yeah, because if you give that to Dr. King and some sort of like internal memory that was locked away for years snaps open, he might attack you and be like, get me to that place, bro. Best not tell him. Subject appeared in a highly furnished version of its containment chamber. After leaving the chamber, it discovered that the facility was inverted from the main reality in the sense that all of the offices were replaced with containment chamber and vice versa. Further inquiry revealed that the Foundation staff were being contained due to the ability to create dangerous experiments. The primary containment staff consists of more docile versions of the baseline reality humanoids in containment. Notably, less hostility did not make the lack of containment any safer, causing the facility to be filled with biological, mimetic, and other hazards. It's unknown how a K-class scenario has not occurred despite the apparent lack of containment. D-class and non-researcher staff were unchanged. Heightened psychological evaluation on staff redacted. I swear you guys aren't telling us something about 507. It didn't bring anything dangerous back somehow, and never does. Not to mention it was a mental institution and inspires to be a researcher, Agent McDaniels. I mean, it also could just be that he's highly traumatized, my bro. Like, uneventful. Like you guys are probably the only ones that can protect him. If he just goes to some random people, what are they gonna do once he teleports? You guys at least offer him shelter, food, and minor items. Okay, subject appeared in the middle of a large, dense forest. The forest showed no signs of life beyond plant life, including insects or animals. Subject attempted to leave the forest on foot, but despite traveling for over 3 weeks on foot, subject was unable to locate and enter the forest. Subject was forced to scavenge edible seeming nuts and fruits in order to survive. That enough non-perishable rations to last a week, but be added to its gear. Okay, yeah. Subject appeared in a world entirely made of candy, described it as Willy Wonka's factory but on steroids. Upon reappearing, subject appeared to have gained 6.8 kilos, more candy denied. It's so bad for your body, like to like shift between malnourished and overweight, and that's happening to him. Either he's forced to starve, or he eats too much, or he's forced to eat a lot, and it's bad. It's bad for you. Subject arrived in the urban area in a reality which appeared at first to be modern-day Japan. Subject figured out that it had not left Western Hemisphere, though attempts to gather information, including successful accessing the internet on the tablet computer it found on the internet cafe. So subject spent several days without an issue in the alternate reality before shifting back. Based on subject's research and limited conversation with locals, it figured that the point of divergence from our universe was that Japanese sailors discovered their way to America in the 14th century. As a result, America's western coast was colonized by the Japanese, and the influx of food and natural resources to Japan resulted in Japan's dominance first in Asia, then globally. The Japanese Empire and European powers apparently waged several wars in America and Western Asia. The most recent war with the British Empire in 1932 resulted in the Cold War that lasted until Britain's bankruptcy and the independence of its overseas territories in 1977. Woo! A reality where Japan took over, huh? Interesting. As a weeb, that doesn't sound too bad, but probably in that reality, the same weebness has not existed. Maybe, who knows? Via tracking device, subject appeared in blank with severe laceration covering its left side and arm. He's getting hurt so much. Subject appeared in a pitch black space with lights floating at head level. Okay. I was about to say, if the smiling man shows up one more goddamn time. Closer examination of these lights revealed them to be a type of fruit hanging from the tree with black bark. The flasher was noted as being less effective than before. A distant light moved steadily towards the subject. Upon closer inspection of this light, subject reported it to be a humanoid figure glowing brightly. The entity was non-hostile and preferred to follow subject. After 2 hours, the entity left the vicinity of subject and disappeared among the strange fruit. Subject noted a heavy breathing approximately 1 hour after the entity's departure. Subject used the flasher to illuminate the source of breathing, which proved to be a pitch black entity, making it almost invisible in the dark. Subject fled from the entity, which gave chase and attacked subject, causing laceration down the subject's left side. Medical attention and stronger flasher proof. God damn it. Every time he enters a world where it's just pitch black, there's just some creature that just wants to absolutely mess with him. Also, why did that light entity not give him a warning? Be like, hey, just like tap him on the shoulder, like just something like that, just body language, my man. Help him out. Subject appeared in its quarters, bleeding from its eyes, ears, and nose and mouth. Subject remained in coma, medical bay C for 42 days after returning. During this time, subject did not shift or change position at all. Do you guys think? I know with the luckiest man alive, it's not possible to kill him because something will prevent him from dying. But do you think maybe with this guy, it would be a mercy to kill him? Because he has only gone to one place where he was happy, and the chance of going there again is 1,000,000 to 1, apparently, from the looks of it. So would it just be a mercy kill, just to like be like, hey, do you want to just pass on with your life and not having to teleport to dangerous places anymore? During this time, subject did not shift or change position at all. Subject recalled appearing in a shifting white landscape looking upon a city made of pure light. The buildings of this city were built into impossible shapes and forms that rendered subject incapable of describing it in any detail. Out of the city came two massive beings who approached the subject. The very presence of these beings, presumably the inhabitants of the city, caused extreme pain and rapid blindness to the subject. The beings attempted to speak to the subject, only for the subject's eardrums to rupture under the force of their words. Subject's last reported feeling is a sense of coming undone before it blacked out. Despite reporting massive injuries, subject was completely uninjured when it awoke from its coma. An inquiry into this is ongoing, so it just healed itself somehow. Via tracking device, subject was discovered in Blank National Park in the back of a cave halfway up the mountain. Subject was dressed in animal skins and was clutching a crude crossbow. Subject was transported to a world where human beings never became the dominant species on Earth. The ruling species was a form of reptile. Wait a minute. Oh. There we go. A form of reptile. Well, hold on now. Hold on. You don't want to give the reptilian conspiracy theories out there a big idea now, do you? Possibly descendant of a larger dinosaur. Subject was immediately apprehended upon arrival, stripped of its clothes and gear, and placed on a human reservation. These reservations were used for hunting, the remaining humans for sport. The subject was able to survive due to its higher reasoning skills and ability to hide. Subject spent the remainder of its shift hiding in a tree in order to survive the various hunting parties. Replacement gear granted. Wow. Wow. SCP-507 appeared nude in basement hallway 4C, although it still had its belt, knife, and flashlight. Subject arrived in an environment where all artificial objects and structures were replaced with living, deformed humans. Subject conjectured that the population took turns performing various mundane jobs along with acting as its own infrastructure and food source. Subject clothes were stolen by other people, although they did not have to complete any jobs in its time there, about 7 days. To not have to see any people does not need to for a few weeks. Granted for 3 weeks. Found approximately 120 kilometers away from the original location. How did you get there, bro? How did you get there? Subject appeared in a dimension made of varying forms of gelatin. The area appeared to be a flat plain stretching to the horizon with occasional small hills about 20 kilometers apart. The subject traveled for about a day before climbing a hill and noticing a metal object glinting in the distance. The subject continued to travel for several days, occasionally sipping from puddles of liquid gelatin or sleeping, and was still several kilometers away from the metal object before returning to our dimension. Subject refused to consume soft foods for nearly a month. Appeared about 15 feet above the ground in the side cafe. 15, that's high up. I mean, you can survive that, but that's high up. Subject appeared in a large basketball court which was occupied by 6 individuals playing basketball. This group included 2 humans, 2 trilaterally symmetrical insectoid beings, 1 squid-like organism with a sharp, rough brown skin, and 1 hovering yellow spherical being with 8 triple-jointed arms. Subject asked where he was and was told he was in an all-species sports center. Subject then checked several rooms with various games, most of them unknown and several unplayable by humans, before being taken to the locked room by 2 creatures wearing orange and pink uniforms. When the subject asked why he was brought there, one of the creatures claimed that he was being held until closing time for sneaking into a sports center. Subject stayed there for about 7 hours before shifting back. None. Space Jams vibes. Almost. Subject arrived in a dimension where everything was frozen in place as it was on December 24th, 2012, according to the computer. The subject found it's easy to find food and water, but noted the sky was red and pink and displayed a message reading error 14528. Loading time expected 228 to 342 years. Subject spent nearly 2 months there before shifting back. None. Okay. We're almost done. Another quarter to go. Via tracking device. Subject tray appeared in blank Idaho. In the horn. Subject appeared in a dimension where the average human lifespan was around 24 hours. Despite their short lifespan, citizens would still obtain jobs and marry, except all at an accelerated pace. Subject personally witnessed a couple meet, get married, and have 2 children within the space of 3 hours. Subject remained in this dimension for 2 months. Because of his normal lifespan, he witnessed several generations life and became internationally famous as the person who doesn't die. Subject reported that it was treated as a wise elder and consulted for advice on world events. That's kind of cool. Like, I understand that it must be also kind of stressful to like try to make friends within a 24-hour period. But wait, how long was he there for? 2 months. 2 months. Yeah. So the person that last saw him, his great times 19 grandpa knew him. Basically, that's It's kind of wild. I kind of like that idea. I kind of like the idea of like, of being the one that survives. Everybody, like, if you want to be immortal, but not, but still like, have a normal lifespan. That's the place to be. Appeared in a janitorial closet in the side basement. Subject appeared 2 meters above the stands in a very large indoor sports arena of approximately 4 kilometers in length and half a kilometer in height. At the center of the arena were 4 teams wearing orange, yellow, pink, and purple body armor and fatigues respectively engaged in combat. Each team possessed 4 members armed with 2 anti-tank rocket launchers, 4 assault rifles, and 1 tank. Subject was unable to ascertain the approximate amount of people watching the event, but he claimed that every seat was full. After 3 minutes, subject was apprehended by 2 guards and escorted to a cell. When subject asked why he was being held, a guard responded, "You have disrupted the daily games and will be held as a player for a future game." Subject was allowed to watch the games on an old-fashioned television in his cell and learned that all games are controlled by someone called the Master 024, who regularly interrupted with rule changes. During the 3rd game, the subject watched several researchers wearing outfits bearing an Alta Foundation logo were forced to play in obstacle courses. Subject returned after approximately 36 hours. Access to the side gym in case of similar circumstances, denied to the grounds of that 507 revisiting this dimension in the future is unlikely that it would not offer a substantially higher chance of winning. But in the same time, I think it would be good if 507 gets to beef up a little bit, just get a bit more fitter. In general, like, it's just better if he gets fit. Like, why would you not give him that? So that logic I don't understand. Like, there's no chance that you go to that dimension again, and also it doesn't raise your chance of survival. Who the fuck cares? Like, let him train himself, let him become stronger. He needs that. Subject was found in an on-site break room with what first appeared to be a series of deep gashes running down the subject's right cheek, neck, and shoulder. Subject informed that the gashes are actually stage makeup. The subject appeared in a side break room, appearing identical to the one of his retrieval at first glance. Researcher Blank and Dr. Blank have been talking about nothing in particular. Equipment seen on a television show, set production present, along with men in uniforms resembling those of a TV show, set worker in uniform managing these equipment. Upon taking a close look, the subject realized the break room was actually just a set for television. The Foundation is a fucking TV show here. The 2 doctors replied to the subject's sudden appearance by expressing surprise at its entrance, but for the reason that the subject shift back to our reality scene wasn't for another 10 minutes. Dr. Blank also informed the subject that he needed to stop by the makeup department. Subject notes that after this, researcher Blank then tells the man managing the equipment to start the scene over from the top. Subject just returned from the makeup department back to the apartment set when it shift back into our reality. That must be wild. That must be wild for them, for that reality. Be like, it's kind of like when Supernatural, when Sam and Dean jumped into our reality, where they found out there was just TV show. Like, I feel like for them realizing like, oh, he's the real deal. Must have been mind-boggling. Like, wait, hold on. Does that mean the Foundation is actually a real thing in a different reality? That all these things we were doing, all these scenes where we are enacting is actually happening for real somewhere else? Subject was found approximately 20 kilometers from the site. Subject appeared in what first was thought to be a forest. Subject quickly determined that the forest was in a concrete heptagonal tunnel lit by an unknown brand of blue fluorescent lamp, with each side approximately 8 meters long. Subject then discovered that the tunnel contained an incredibly diverse amount of plants, containing many that do not naturally grow even on the same continent. Subject soon found the phrase 043 warning written in a yellow spray paint exactly every 100 meters with an abnormally large bloody handprint on the wall near each message. Subject attempted to find and enter the tunnel, eating many of the recognizable plant species he could find, but did not reach the end. Subject shifted back after 6 days. Like, some of these worlds are interesting, but you sadly won't get any more elaboration. Like, what is that world where the Smile Man is from? What is that world where one humanoid figure is bright and the other one is pitch black? like what happened to the man in the desert? Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's like some worlds where you just want to know more, but you just gotta deal with what you got. Subject fell approximately 9 meters to the side of the roof and broke his leg. Subject is currently healing inside infirmary. Oh god, is he gonna teleport with a broken leg? Subject woke up in a dark room with a clock displaying the time and date as 7:33:84. Wait, what? 3,120 gone. Oh, subject quickly found a staircase and ascended 8 levels of stairs before reaching what the subject described as an airplane control room overlooking a destroyed airfield with several dozen stone statues standing in various poses outside. After the subject blinked, it was noticed that almost every visible statue had moved. The subject spent the remaining 4 days of the shift hiding in the stairwell with his flashlight, attempting to read magazines and flight manuals in an unknown language. Subject noted no people during the shift, but claims to have heard explosion in the distance 3 days into the shift. Ah, God. Can you imagine being in a in a reality with a bunch of 173s, but instead of instantaneously breaking your neck, they just move. Like every horror game ever, where you have to where there's like a mannequin and you have to keep your eyes open, and when you blink, they just move closer. Nah, thank you. Subject was retrieved in a large blue dark costume with a large patches anomalously fused to the subject's skin. The costume was removable, but a large portion of the subject's skin had to be taken off, prompting a skin graft. The subject arrived in a building exactly like the Foundation site, excluding that all staff seemed to be wearing anthropomorphic animal costumes. The staff quickly tried to corner the subject, talking about something called being The subject escaped and ran off in a different direction, but due to its broken leg sustained during the last shift was caught. I fucking knew he was teleporting with a fucking broken leg. Was caught by a different staff member who then put a large blue dog costume on the subject, who then felt large amounts of pain and then shifted back. A thin skin suit. Granted. Okay. Being furred. The world of furries exists in a very different way than I expected. My god, this reading alone is almost 2 hours. It's an hour and a half almost. Subject appeared in an alternate Foundation site where everything was a shade of red, including all living organisms. Subject was contained and designated as an anomalous object due to his strange appearance. Subject was contained for about 20 hours before shifting back. A green blanket instead of its current red blanket, granted. Subject appeared in a featureless white room containing nothing but the subject and the late 41st President of the United States, George W.H. Bush. George H.W. Bush. Excuse me, George W.H. That's not correct. George H.W. Bush proceeded to produce wet broccoli from an unknown location and continuously threw it at the subject while repeating saying 1992. Alright. Uneventful. It's good that it's uneventful retrieval because like the 9-meter drop. Fuck, the 9-meter drop must be so bad. Subject appeared in a feature. No, wait, I already read that one. Excuse me. Subject appeared in a room with entirely black walls, ceiling, and floor. After the subject got its bearings, it attempted to knock on several walls. After knocking a few times, the subject noticed a humanoid entity standing in the corner. Said entity was wearing a standard Foundation D-class uniform and appeared human from the neck down, but the entity head was that of a domestic house cat, complete with fur and whiskers. The entity then proceeded to hit 507 in the stomach with a baseball bat it had been holding. When asked why it did this, the entity responded, "You know damn well, punk, don't leave." The entity then walked through one of the room's walls. Subject spent the remainder of its shift unsuccessfully attempting to break out of the room. Subject's bruised abdomen taken care of. What the fuck? You know damn well, punk, don't leave. What the fuck? Just out of nowhere? This cat, the officer cat from My Academia, just wearing a baseball blanket. What the hell? Subject recovered 17 kilometers away, riding it to the side with a recovered bicycle-like vehicle. See below. Subject woke up in a field near a farmhouse and a barn. The subject went to the farmhouse to attempt to find signs of life and was greeted by an elderly Caucasian man and the man's family. The man was able to somewhat communicate with subject using a book that subject later found to be a Spanish to English dictionary. The subject gave a cover story of having developed a partial amnesia and managed to find that it was in a county that had rebelled from the prominent Spanish Empire. The subject was given a ride into a nearby town and some money and spent most of the remainder of its shift in the town's public library using an advanced computer system that offered English as a language. The subject managed to find a vehicle resembling a bicycle in a trash can and was riding the vehicle when it shifted back to our reality. Retrieved items: one vehicle resembling a bicycle with 3 wheels in a row, a seat with a backrest, and a broken brake system. Several paper bills printed with purple ink depicted various unknown individual and Spanish phrases. None. How many more? Oh god, I should not do that. I should not try to look on ahead how much there's left, because then I will lose where I am. Subject appeared in the medical wing of Cy Blank in Blank screaming and wildly swinging a chair. The subject appeared in the maternity ward of a large hospital. Subject was discovered being dressed as a nurse checking on the infant. Subject was unable to describe the appearance of the nurse as it began screaming every time it tried. Sorry, subject. I was like rereading that paragraph because I was like, wait, what happened? And now, subject. Now I read it correctly. Subject submitted what it claimed was a drawing of the creature, but it was merely a wild mass of jagged lines. The creature spoke to the subject in a pleasant voice that had been upsetting the other patients with its strange appearance, and that it was the time to start the operation. The nurse then pounced on the subject and wrapped him in a straitjacket before wheeling him into an operation room. When the straitjacket was removed, subject jumped off the table and attempted to fend off the creatures when it shifted back. Retrieved items: on one chair that appeared to be a normal office chair, but further tests must be performed. A memory wipe denied. Well, come on! Not even a memory wipe. He's gonna live with that shit, with that traumatization forever now. Come on, dudes. We are tracking a subject found unconscious several hundred meters from the side, lying on the ground with various burns on his chest and face. Subject was determined to be under the effect of a high-grade sleeping medication, which wore off 9 hours later. Subject is incapable of remembering anything that occurred in the 25 hours duration of the shift. Attempting to remember this resulted in the subject rapidly losing consciousness and bleeding from various orifices. Given the subject class, amnestic has had no effect. Retrieved items: a blue bathrobe worn by the subject upon return. Replacement tools granted. Okay. Subject found in a locked storage freezer next to the cafeteria. Subject released from the freezer. Subject shifted to a near-identical version of its containment chamber with a male skeleton wearing SCP-507's jumpsuit and utility belt nearby and on the floor. After this, the subject found a loaded pistol nearby on the floor and used it to shatter the window to the observation room overlooking the containment chamber. This resulted in a deluge of water flooding into the room and the subject losing consciousness. Subject then awoke wearing a diving suit in a dark room with near waist-high water and several crates scattered around. Subject then spent the next several minutes attempting to leave the room, but found all doors were locked. After waiting for several more hours, a trapdoor in the floor opened and 3 humanoid creatures with fish-like skin emerges. One of the creatures offered subject several dozen wet pieces of seaweed and various meats. Following this, all 3 vocalized, "Don't smile back. Don't smile back. Smile, hide, lie. Stay here." In unison before leaving through the trapdoor, subject spent the next several days in the room not wearing the diving suit. One of the creatures returned briefly after 2 days to remove several rusty medieval weapons from one of the crates. The creature did not vocalize anything during this time, but hummed an unknown song. Following the departure of the creature, attempted to find what was in the various crates and found several items including bags of microwave popcorn, laundry, toy kaleidoscopes, and various machine parts. However, upon opening a crate labeled G4563-A2, subject found a corpse highly resembling but not perfectly matching the Smiling Man encountered on previous trips. Subject spent the remainder of the shift avoiding that part of the room. Retrieved items: a November 1996 Boys Life magazine issue found in the crate. The magazine has not been found to contain any differences from the baseline issue beyond word choice in certain articles. A warm blanket granted. The Smiling Man. Okay, so in that reality, the Smiling Man exists as well. But it's dead. Or maybe he brought the Smiling Man here. Like this version of the same of 507. Via tracker, subject was found buried in a grave in India. Subject spent the entire shift free falling through the air as if it had just jumped from a plane. During the entire shift, subject was unable to see any kind of solid ground and only more sky. The only other notable feature, according to the subject, was immense birds in the distance. Subject appeared in a chamber, hyperventilating, and collapsed to the floor. Subject manifested within a cramped crawl space between two walls, unable to move. Subject attempted to call for help but heard no noises beyond a dripping noise and an unknown creature scurrying nearby on 2 occasions. Subject shifted back after approximately 24 hours. So you can't move and all you hear is I'm not sure if you did. That. Uneventful. Subject manifested in a large auditorium containing an estimate of 50,000 identical 507 objects. Objects seem to be having an analog to a political rally advocating for the overthrow of the government under the organization name of the People's Dimension Hub Republic. Within the 2 weeks of the duration of the subject shift, the BTHR overthrew the United States government. The People's Dimension Hub. Establishing their own government in the form of a republic entirely composed of 507 objects. Subject was elected to the office of representative of Massachusetts and was about to introduce the first piece of legislation when subject shifted back to the prime reality. But how can he after that not be against humans and the Foundation? It sounds almost like this would be the perfect reason for him to be like, you know what? Those 50,000 me's were right. I don't need to follow your orders at all. Subject reappeared within its containment chamber without its handgun or knife. Subject manifested in a train-like vehicle. Upon manifesting, it noticed several other individuals seated at various occasions along the carriage who did not remark upon his sudden appearance. The subject noted that the train appeared to be in some kind of black void with nothing visible out the window. After 30 minutes, a humanoid creature without facial features spotted the subject and asked him for his ticket. Upon the subject reporting his lack of tickets, he was searched and his weapons were confiscated. The subject was told they would have to leave the train at the next stop, and they would be fined 10 minutes. The subject began to explore the train, but shifted back after walking approximately 3 kilometers and finding no end. Replacement gear granted. Okay, we reached the end, guys. We reached the end. Subject appeared in its containment with multiple deep bite wounds in his forearms. Subject arrived in a facility identical to Side's blank intercom warning state that the SCP-507 has displaced. If spotted, the object is to be punched immediately and returned to containment. Subject reported fearing for his safety until the alternate Dr. Blank entered its containment to reassure it that it was not the one to be punched back into this world. Wait. Subject stayed in containment for 3 hours before expletive huge shark materialized in containment with it and proceeded to attack the subject. 2 guards personnel entered the subject containing and proceeded to punch the shark in its stupid shark face multiple times. Shark repellent in the grounds of the site has no non-ominous shark repellent. So SCP-507 in that world is a shark that hops between dimensions. Okay. Subject appeared in its containment chamber asleep. Unknown. Subject claims to have slept through the entire shift. Wristwatcher will detect it when it was shifted and sound an alarm to wake it up as if it's sleeping at the time. Granted, watch currently in development. Subject reappeared exactly where it had disappeared from the seat in the side cafeteria a fraction of a second later. Subject did not realize it had shifted until informed of such by Agent M, with it whom it had been speaking at the time. Unknown. Duration of shift estimated to have been fewer than 100 milliseconds as it occurred while SCP-507 was blinking. Subject was not able to visually observe destination on universe before the shift ended. None. Hey, that happens. And addendum. Due to a particular trying to encounter with blank, several documents in the archive have been altered, corrupted, or technically never existed. Document 507-3B appears to have been affected by this and is currently being rebuilt using backup files, references, and blank respectively. Subject matter may occasionally increase, decrease, and undergo modification in light of this, Dr. Blank. Oh my god, we finally finished this. How long is this part? Not so long, thank you. Those with level 2507 security clearance should also interview 507G for evidence of a particular noteworthy shift. Here we go. Good, guys, we're finally at the end, almost at the end of this one. Jesus Christ, can you imagine if I did this in the same time as I was reading the other six beforehand? I would have been dead. I was hungry and tired. My God. During a daily interviewed SCP-507. Two 507s. Interviewer, blank. Doing a daily signal check for SCP-507, 2 independent verifications were returned. The following investigation led to the discovery of identical SCP-507 duplicates in its assigned quarters. Both apparently made their way to the room by themselves and had spent at least half an hour conversing with each other upon meeting. The following interview took place between them and the first informed employee to reach their location. The duplicates have been each given an alphabetical notation for the purpose of readability. Hey Doc, welcome to the party. I am afraid you are going to have to explain this to me. There's apparently more than one version of me with this problem. Should have seen this coming, honestly. There are so many ways an alternate reality could differ without affecting my personal life, you know. So, which one of you is the visitor? Roughly 10 seconds of silence. Is something wrong? We've actually been talking about this for a bit. Now you guys have been really nice to us. More than we might deserve, really. But we also know that this could be a rather enticing opportunity for your research department. It'd probably be best if you didn't know which one of us was temporary, expandable. I don't know what kind of stories you two have been sharing, but our job is to secure and protect the likes of you. Perhaps this other reality has less benign code of conduct. And perhaps I can shoot fireballs from my mouth. We don't mean to be hurtful, but this place isn't the best source of human compassion. Finally, somebody said it. I'm sure that there's at least one person on the staff who would love breaking me open in an attempt to find out how all this freaky stuff works, if it wasn't for the fact that you couldn't keep studying me afterwards. Do you have to put it like that? I have enough things that keep me awake at night. Good God, I know. Once there was this guy with a huge ass smile. You met him too? Neither saw myself. I wish I was that lucky. You know, this could be interpreted as a security breach. Who is the doppelganger going to report to? Alternate SCP? I'm fairly sure there's a better chance of a meteor striking this place than successful cross-dimensional sabotage. I've actually come across at least 3 dimensions where something fell from. You're not helping, I really do. Anyway, where were we? Disappears mid-sentence, roughly 5 seconds of silence. Well, now that our visitor has left, I have a question. Alright. Did you two figure out the difference between your realities? Actually, I think we did. In his world, Abraham Lincoln was killed while sleeping by his vice president instead of by General Lee. In this reality, Booth assassinated Lincoln. Oh, bugger. Oh, shit. The wrong one stayed. Subsequent testing revealed that SCP-507 ability to have no biological basis and that several pieces were still shift along with the main body. The SCP-507 of this reality reappeared 3 days later and had not been informed of this incident. So yeah, they experimented on the last one. Oh boy, shit. That's a shame. It was a good reason why they didn't want to tell them, but now that they immediately found out which one was the visitor, they immediately was like, okay, let's just do the surgery right now. They were right. It's fucked. It's fucked that they were right about it. That they were like, yeah, now like we don't want to tell you who is who because you will experiment on us. And lo and behold, it did. Addendum 0. Agent Blank went missing unexpunged at the same time as SCP-507. A full-scale search was launched to find either of them, only for SCP-507 to appear a week later. When questioned, it said that Blank was holding onto his shoulder when it shifted, leading to both of them to appear in an alternate dimension were expunged. During the ensuing chaos, SCP-507 lost contact with Blank and could not relocate him before it shifted back into standard reality. A new protocol has been placed in light of this. No one is to come in physical contact with SCP-507 after 2 weeks following a displacement. Re-evaluation of previous incidents has shown that there have been always at least 2 weeks between each. So this time frame would be the only safe time to touch SCP-547 until further notice. And then addendum 1, I don't care how much he grumbles about it. SCP-547 is not to be cleared for challenging SCP-07662 to a 50 rounds of tic-tac-toe. Just no. Wait. Able. Yeah. Fungus encountered by SCP-547 seems similar to that resulting from experimentation with SCP-407. The Song of Gen. Ah, yes, that one. Wow, we finally did it. We finally got to the next SCP. Jesus. That one was good, I will say though. Even though this was almost a 2-hour read, I really enjoyed that one. Sometimes you just need a big, long-ass SCP that is just good quality to just make you realize why you love this kind of franchise. And yeah, no, it's for you guys, again, this isn't all in the same video. For me, these are 2 different videos. I'm thinking about just splitting it up into 2 different videos just because of how long this one was. But how about we just finish the 508s, the first 500s, the first 10 of the 500s. Let's just finish that. This one is called Random Dot Stereogram. Subcritical portion of SCP-508. Save. SCP-508 requires no special containment procedure so long as it is kept out of a direct view of any SCP staff. At least blank % of SCP-508 must remain covered except when actively being tested. It is currently kept in a small closet with no windows or ventilation. The door is to be kept securely locked at all times. If SCP-508 is to be tested, it might be sealed in an opaque container and transported to any environmentally sealed testing room available. Due to the potentially risk resulting from its secondary effect, the room is to be sealed using positive pressure and sanitize using blank when the test is complete. Unless there is a strong need to preserve this test subject, they also should be sanitized with using blank blank. In the event that the subject must be retained, they should be held in a quarantine for a period of no less than blank days. A lot of blanks so far. Description: SCP-508 appears to be a random dot stereogram poster of dimensions 255 times 197 centimeters. Caution must be taken when interacting with it, as even a cursory glance may fascinate the viewer, giving them an overwhelming desire to properly view the hidden image. Viewing the image appears to only be possible when the viewer stands 1 meter in front of the image and stares directly at it. Attempts to view the image via mirrors or having multiple subject attempt to view it failed, with only the properly positioned subject able to see the image. In testing, achieving proper focus to be able to view the image has taken an average of 93 seconds. Subject exposed multiple times appear to view it more quickly, but never in less than 60 seconds. Once the viewer has achieved proper focus, the poster seems to function as a window to some other location. Effect 1. These locations range from the banal, example a view of the same room but from the perspective of a different wall, to surreal and potentially maddening, see blank. In addition, the window appears to function bidirectionally, exposing the viewer to the gaze of whatever is being viewed. Regardless of the time required for the viewer to accumulate to the needed focus for the image, after the same amount of time has passed with the user viewing through the window, the interface appears to undergo a secondary change, effect 2, and becomes permeable, although only to the viewer and viewed subject area. See event log blank 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 and blank. The requirement for viewing appears to extend to the secondary effect, even in the case of event blank, where the subject was dismembered and pulled through the image. 2 other subjects in the test room were unaffected. Ooh! Oh, there's a bunch of experiments too. Addendum: photographs, scans, and copies of SCP-508 do not inherit its primary properties, as a user is unable to see more than a strangely compelling blur. All such copies should be kept filed away, and no person shall view them more than blank minutes in any given blank hour period, as extensive viewing has been shown to introduce an overwhelming desire to see the original. Effect 3. If the subject is unable to see more than blank percentage of the image due to being partially covered, obscured, etc., neither effect is demonstrated. Copies of SCP-548 show the same limitation with regards to to effect 3. Then you want to see the original. Yeah, okay. Addendum, another one. Careful removal of the backing material revealed a price sticker indicating SCP-548 was sold for $14.98. No indication of the store for which it was sold was found, nor was the UPC code able to be matched to any known database. Test logs. Experiment 1. Male subject D9211 was exposed to SCP-548 and told to make note of any image perceived. After 93 seconds, subject began to giggle. When asked to explain, subject blushed and stated, "Oh, nothing, it's just... nothing really, it's just a funny view." Later, interrogation revealed SCP-548 to have provided a view into a women's changing room at a local department store. Subject terminated due to unreliability. Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's... male subject as well, so like he just enjoyed the view. Experiment 2. Male subject D4599 was placed in a chair in front of SCP-548 without instructions. The subject was seen to glance at SCP-548 momentarily, look around, and return to observing it with a perplexed expression on his face. After 102 seconds, subject appeared to enter a state of extreme agitation, sweating profusely and attempting to draw back from SCP-508 without leaving the chair. After an additional 102 seconds, subject suddenly became very pale and attempted to leave the chair. After moving less than 12 inches, subject screamed and collapsed to the floor. Examination of subject revealed an 11 centimeter cylindrical segment missing from the left side of the subject's abdomen. The edges of the wound appeared to be cauterized. Autopsy revealed that death occurred due to severe systemic shock. Damn. Okay, that's crazy. So did he see someone like? I assume almost like a gunshot, but like a laser shot almost. Because a laser shot would cauterize a wound immediately, wouldn't it? Experiment 3. Male subject D8788 and D7422 placed in the test chamber with SCP-508. Instructed that the first to identify the image would win a prize. After several minutes of vying for position, the subject both began to scrutinize the poster. After 87 seconds, D7422 suddenly turned his head away in disgust. Inquiries as to what had become visible were not responded to, and subject was remotely terminated. D8788 was advised to resume the test on pain of suffering the same disposal. After 92 seconds, D8788 suddenly smiled and moved closer to SCP-508. Before tapping on its surface, subject appeared surprised to find a solid surface but continued to observe. After an additional 87 seconds, the subject was seen to lift his head and sniff and then suddenly dive at SCP-508, passing through its surface with no resistance. Subject D8788 has yet to be located. What the fuck? So whatever he saw, he really wanted to be there. Or he maybe saw that it was a way to escape. Experiment 4. Male subject D4431 and female subject D8744 placed in test chamber with SCP-508 after being shown footage of experiment 2, which was the chair one, yeah. Both subjects sat on the floor facing away from SCP-508 and began to talk. After several minutes, D6744 shook her head in response to a comment made by D4431 and inadvertently allowed her gaze to rest upon SCP-508 for less than 1 second. Although visibly shaken, she looked back at it repeatedly for the next 10 seconds before changing position to obtain a better view. Repeated warnings from D4431 failed to dissuade D6744 from attempting to view the image. After 103 seconds, D6744 suddenly blanched and began to vomit. Subjects were then removed and interrogated. Subject D6744 was unable to describe what she had seen, stating that it was somehow wrong, but in a way she could not explain. Subject D4431 admitted to look at SCP-508 after seeing D6744's response, but claimed to have seen nothing. Subject quarantined for potential future testing. At least they didn't get terminated. But man, so every time you look at it, it's just something else, huh? And I wonder if it's like depending on who looks at it, like if they have like a certain effect depending on which is the person that looks at it. Like if I don't know. Like if the first experiment was basically because the D class was a horny bastard, if the SCP was like, oh, let me show you something that you will like. Who knows? Experiment 5. Female subject 9801 instructed to enter test chamber, observe SCP-508, and report back. After 93 seconds of observation, the subject was heard to exclaim, "Oh, that's neat." Interrogation revealed the subject to have seen an image of herself in what she thought was some kind of experimental mirror. The subject also noted that the image was not reversed from left to right, as would be the case in a conventional mirror. Subject quantity to be used for future tests. Okay, experiment 6. Male subject D6621 shown video of experiment 5 and instructed to enter test chamber, observes SCP-508 and report back. After 97 seconds, subject D6621 made sounds indicative of disgust and stated, "Ew." They can't make it in here, can they? After an additional 97 seconds, D6621 suddenly demanded to be let out and moved to be the farthest point in the test chamber from SCP-508. After 43 seconds of the subject becoming increasingly agitated and demanding to be let out, the subject suddenly began to scream and swat at his legs. Analysis of the video log shows that the subject's legs appear to be being bitten by a large number of small creatures based on concurrent wounds. At least 27 bites were being inflicted at any one time. After 14 seconds, the subject collapsed, whereupon the subject began taking wounds over his entire body. After an additional 14 seconds, the subject lost consciousness. Within 10 seconds of the subject being rendered unconscious, all damage ceased. The subject was unable to return to consciousness and was terminated. Autopsy revealed the bites to be consistent with those of unusual large bed bugs, with traces of neurotoxin found within the wounds. Sometimes I think the Foundation is just... the staff of the Foundation are all assholes. Again, I know that the D-class are all criminals and all that stuff, and I say this every single time I read this kind of stuff, but man, at least be a bit better than the criminals. You know what I mean? Like, did they deserve the... if they were the worst of the worst of human beings, did they deserve, like, your compassion? Probably not, but... definitely not, but I mean, at least don't be such an asshole. Like, come on. You can be, I don't know, like, disapproving and disgusted by the being that you're working with, but if they yell, like, "Let me out," because they're about to get bitten all over the body, then just let them out. Repeated female subject 9801 instructed to enter the test chamber, observe SCP-508, and report back. After 81 seconds of observation, the subject was seen to turn about several times and state, "Oh well, that's different." Interrogation revealed the subject to have seen an image of herself as seen from behind. Upon returning around, subject saw what appeared to be an identical copy of SCP-508 behind her. No such object appeared to have of the video log. So see, like, she has a similar experiment again. Which makes me wonder again if it depends on the person what SCP-508 shows. Male subject D2232 placed in test chamber and told that he would be rewarded if he could properly identify the objects shown by SCP-508. Subject had been fitted with a remote activation tranquilizer called to test the effect loss of vision through unconsciousness would have on effect 2. After 87 seconds, subject leaned forward and stated, "Wow, I didn't know these could show live images. Who is that?" Subject was advised to continue observing. After an additional 87 seconds, the subject made a coherent gesture towards SCP-508. 6 seconds later, video surveillance shows SCP-507 climbing out SCP-508's frame. 507 indicated appreciation of being retrieved as its most recent shift had interrupted his lunch. SCP-507 was permitted to return to his normal routine. Subject D2232 terminated due to security risk. Tranquilizer call recovered for future testing. Okay. Wow. Now that we know what SCP-507 does, this is interesting that they actually work, that they actually, like, right after each other. You know what I mean? Like, a SCP right after the other SCP shows that they had some sort of connection with another one. That is okay. And the last one. This will be exactly 2 hours. Men are pigs. Another safe one. Special containment procedures. SCP-509A and SCP-509B are both to be contained on site due to the immobility. Each is to be cordoned off and any members of the public turned away. Outside of research and maintenance purposes, no humans or pigs, living or dead, are to be allowed into either structure. Personnel may safely enter and leave SCP, so Dash A and Dash B, within 4 minutes of activation and while inactive. After testing, any living humans recovered from B are to be trained as level 0 personnel and assigned to minimal security positions. Personnel are cautioned that smoke inhalation from A poses a health hazard and are advised to wear particular respirators during and immediately after testing. Description: SCP-509 is a collective term for two structures with similar and possibly linked anomalies. Dash A is a wooden sauna located in Gaston, Oregon. When activated remotely, it functions as normal for an electric stove sauna, producing steam by dripping water onto a heated surface. Located records show that Dash A was built in 1987 and exhibit no anomalous properties until shortly before its containment in 1995. When used by a human, SCP-A produces clouds of smoke instead of steam. Though the smoke is at this point non-anomalous, the means by which it is produced are unclear. After approximately 6 minutes of smoke production, Dash A enters an active state, and tracking devices placed inside fail for the duration of its active periods. Attempts to enter Dash A no longer to lead its interior. See experiment log 509. After a period of 155 minutes, as Dash A returns to its inactive state, now filled with extremely thick smoke. All humans in Dash A at activation are no longer present within the structure, but replaced by an equal number of cured pig carcasses. These carcasses exhibit no anomalous properties. Dash B is a brick smokehouse located near Heston in northern France, exhibiting similar anomalous properties to Dash A. Dash B is believed to have been built circa 1750, though it is functioned normally until 1995. So something happened in 1995 that caused those two to function like this. Whenever one or more cleaned but uncured pig carcasses are placed into Dash B, it ceases to produce smoke and instead produces steam. 6 minutes after the addition of the last pig carcass, the interior of the Dash B becomes inaccessible in a similar manner to Dash A. After 12 minutes, Dash B returns to its inactive state. Any pig carcass present at time of activation are replaced by living humans. These humans speak fluent English and claim to have just been at a sauna. Physical examination revealed no anomalous properties and dehydration consistent with approximately 20 minutes in the sauna. Under questioning, these individuals demonstrate functional knowledge within standard parameters, but have no recollection of life before recovery from Dash B. No records have been found of persons recovered in this way. So it's just basically, it just swaps them out then. It just swaps them out, doesn't it? Experiment 5, date 21st of September 1995. Dr. Samuel Cho, D35475, was instructed to enter Dash A 15 minutes after activation. Subject reported that he was unable to open the door and so was given tools to remove the door from its hinges. With assistance from research staff, D35475 was able to remove the door instead of its interior. Dash A contained an empty white room substantially larger than the exterior of Dash A. D35475 was ordered to enter as Dash A. On doing so, he reported that it contained a large quantity of pigs. When questioned regarding the incongruity of this with external observation, D35475 clarified that he did not in fact see, hear, smell, or feel any pigs, but rather was certain of their presence. 4th of April 1996, Dr. Samuel Cho and Dr. Alexander Bejo, Dash A, Dash B was simultaneously activated 30 minutes after activation. D35475 and D31161 were instructed to enter Dash A and Dash B respectively. As expected, both reported seeing the white chamber. However, D35475 did not perceive it as containing pigs, and D31161 did not perceive it as containing humans. Each reported seeing a distant blurred figure which matched the movement of the other. Though certain identification was impossible, attempts for each to move towards the other figure proved similarly ineffective. Oh, right, by the way, this experiment 17, excuse me. Experiment 36, 20th January 1999. Dr. Alexander Bejo, D35574, entered -A while active, but unusually did not perceive the presence of pigs. D35574 reported and camera footage confirmed a distant blurred figure similar to those observed during concurrent testing of A and -B, despite the fact that no testing was scheduled for -B that day. Now that's creepy. The planned testing was aborted after recovery from -A. A routine medical exam revealed D35574 to be infected with a violent strain of dengue fever not matching any known virality. And the last test 43, 8th of March 1999, Dr. Evan Green, a live pig was placed into -A, which was then activated rather than steam or smoke. -A began to fill with aerosolized decontamination fluid. After 6 minutes, the interior became inaccessible for 40 minutes. On deactivation, the pigs had been replaced by a deceased male human in a hazmat suit. The corpse exhibits severe burns across and through its entire body. The torso had been opened and emptied of all organs save the liver and heart. No unusual occurrences were reported at -B. Ooh, there's some creepy stuff happening. We've done it! We finished the first 10 of the SCP 500s. There's some good ones in this one. There is some. I think this is one of the stronger 10s I read in overall. Like, honestly, that was some good stuff. I would say the weakest one of the first of these 10s. I would say it would be the random dot stereogram. Well, it still is pretty good though. I still like it. I still like the idea of a picture that has something hidden and suddenly shows you something else. And it can either come in, or just viewing stuff. I do like that, but I do think compared to all the other stuff that the first 10 has to offer, is definitely one of the weaker ones. I would say 503 and 507. I was very emotional. I feel horribly for them because they had to go through so much shit. It's unbelievable what they went through. Oh yeah, instant growing plants is probably one of the weaker ones too, because that's not as memorable. Because I just completely forgot that was actually one of the 508, one of the first 10s. So I guess, yeah. But yeah, no, I think this is some good stuff. Again, guys, in the comments, give me advice if you prefer it this way, if you prefer having all 10s at once, or if you prefer each individual one to have its own video. Alright, I'm going to stop now because I'm hungry again. But I did enjoy this. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. And I see you guys in the next, whatever video I will post. But for the SCP ones, I will see you guys for the 510s that will come up eventually, the Afro's review.